Welcome back to another edition of PUBG Notes, the show where you learn everything that you need to know about the PUBG North America Continental Series and life. Here's my notes. PCS Grand Finals are here. We're about to kick off 3 weekends of intense matches to see who will claim the crown in PCS2. Shoot to Kill finally shook off the runner-up history by securing victory in the closing moments of the final match of PCS1. It was everything you want to see from competitive PUBG. Going into PCS2 Grand Finals, the Ironmen are once again looking like the team to beat as they sit first overall in the standings and boast the PCS2 group stage MVP. And yeah, I picked Tiggleton as my PCS2 MVP.
My MVP for PCS2, just like it was for PCS1, is going to be an Aussie, and that's going to be Tiggleton. He's going to ping abuse his way all the way to the top, baby.
But it ain't over yet, and I fully expect Sonics, with Tiggleton on that roster, to make an exciting run in the Grand Finals. Other teams that are looking strong and may dethrone STK are Radiance and Oath, both at the top of the standings, but don't count out PCS1 runners-up, Team Veritas. My other picks to pull off an upset are Comets, who had an incredible run in the group stage, and Illusion looking better than ever with Adam at the helm. This team is definitely one to watch. One of the teams that has made the biggest improvements in 2020 is easily 303 Esports. Joining me now to give us his PUBG notes is Honey Badger from 303 Esports. Honey Badger, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Godspeed?
I'm doing pretty good, man. The real question is how are you and 303 Esports preparing for the PCS2 Grand Finals?
Preparation for finals is just, it's a lot of VOD review, right? Most of the game is done outside of the game. Like when it actually comes to game day, a lot of stuff should be locked in already. From the changes between PCS1 and PCS2, we've brought in a new coach. He's been a great help when it comes to me growing as IGL and when it comes to the team just growing in chemistry overall. That's been like the main change in my opinion.
You guys are currently sitting in 7th as far as the group stages. What do you think has been the biggest factor on your improvement thus far?
It's honestly just a mentality change. Coming out of like charity for the team, because obviously it's the same core 3, right? They made a change, like adding me onto the roster, but
yeah,
for them, I think they were a super passive team, and then they'll be the first to admit that. They were playing the game from a different different foot entirely almost, and I've been a big advocate in pushing for just an aggressive playstyle, a lot more controlling in terms of like our zone control, and just like picking the fights we know will win the game.
Do you think you have a legit shot at winning the Grand Finals?
In truth, yes. I think everyone in the finals should believe that they can win them. Otherwise, I mean, what are you really doing there, right? The number one thing separating us from being a top 3, if not champion of PCS2, is just closing out games. I think we all are on the same page at this point that we suck at actually like winning the chicken dinner. There are a lot of games that we should have won that we kind of threw.
Sure.
And that to me is the main thing that separates us from being a mid-pack team to a top team. So that's what we're going to be working on. And the main change to meet that requirement is just aggression in the end game, playing to win rather than playing not to lose.
What should we expect to see from you guys then in the Grand Finals, like as far as play style?
Going into the Grand Finals, we're going to be having a much more aggressive take than even group stages. It's going to be a lot of edge play, but most importantly, it's going to be a lot of, to what many on the outside might seem as unnecessary fights, but to us, it's all in a big picture to try and like take that chicken dinner, right? So a lot of early fights, a lot of scrappy engagements, but if we can keep 4 up, we'll win the game.
What exactly was it that was, kind of stifling your growth on Veritas?
Veritas are a group of really talented individuals, all of them. Like Jazza, Penta, Sharp, and Keenan, I think are some of NA's best talent.
Yeah.
For me, I would still consider myself very much up and coming. And one of the things I've struggled with over the last year competitively is really just finding my identity and being on a team where they all know what they're good at, they all know their role. It was a bit thrown into the deep end for me. Playing with big dogs like that, it can be intimidating, and it definitely affected me in ways that I didn't anticipate. But being on a team surrounded by players that are still finding their identity themselves, it's really allowed me to find who I am as a player and find my role. That's where the confidence comes from.
Thanks for joining us, and if you have any final shout-outs, man, the floor is yours.
Shout out to, obviously, my coaches. They're a huge influence on why I'm able to do what I do. Thank you for my teammates for being just supportive of every step of the way and me learning to IGL. That's a huge help. And I mean, thank you to all the Korean pros for being inspirations. That's pretty much everything. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for joining us, and wish you the best luck in the finals, man.
Thank you. You too, Godspeed. Appreciate it.
Well, that's it. It's all the notes, facts, the downright unbiased, accurate, and objective information that you could possibly hope for. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the Grand Finals, and remember, play more PUBG.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back, or for the first time, I should say, welcome. It is PCS2 Grand Finals for North America about to get kicked off. 3 weekends of the finest PUBG actions and the best 16 teams in North America here to make it happen. My name's Toffees, and I'll be here on day one to help walk you through the process, joined by some of the best brains in the business and some lightning fast casters as well. It is going to be a great day of play, but before we get into it, let's talk about what you have to look forward to. So we'll pull the overview up on the screen and talk to you a little bit more about the schedule. We're going to be playing every Thursday and Friday for the next 3 weeks. 2 days of action, 4 games each day, and a chance for each team, the top 16 North America, to prove who is the best of the best. Those teams that will be competing are over on the right side of your screen. They are already guaranteed a spot in PCS3, but they want their share of the prize pool, bragging rights, and to show off to everyone else. That is what it is about here for the next couple of weekends. Let's take a look at exactly how they get there and what they're going to get for the hard work. So let's take a look at the format, what you can expect to see. As we said, 6 days of play, a bit of a departure from the traditional style. We're doing 4 matches, and all 4 will be on the same map. So today, settle in, get your desert pants on, and prepare for a sandstorm, because it is all about Miramar. Then tomorrow and the beginning of next weekend, it's going to be about the island in the sun, Orangel, as we get the action moved over there. It's the super point system, the same as it's been for a long time, but for those of you who might be new, keep in mind, placement points are important. 10 for first is a very big deal, but 1 kill equals 1 point, and 1 point is often the difference between success and failure at the end of a PUBG event. Just ask Fabled and Elusive. They've got a pretty good insight into how this works. What are they playing for? They're playing for their share of $200,000 in prize pool, plus 12.5% of in-game sales. That'll be distributed equally among the participants. So $200,000, not so equally. The 12.5%, very much so. So head in game, get your items, get involved. You can support the teams and everyone else involved by going over there and checking it out. Now, if you want to support the teams, one of the best ways that you can do that is the Pick'em Challenge. You can go in there, choose which team you think is going to be the best, and in doing so, earn yourself some sweet, sweet esport points. In fact, we put a video here to explain just a little more about how the Pick'ems are going to work.
Hello, PUBG Esports fans. The Pick'em Challenge is back, and just in time for PUBG Continental Series 2, with some new improvements to make earning those great rewards even easier. That's right, starting with PCS2, we've extended the Pick'em Challenge event and increased the number of matches, allowing you more time and opportunities to collect the points you need to earn awesome, unique rewards. You'll also be able to earn more free voting coupons than before, while having opportunities to earn esports points just by watching our live PCS2 broadcasts. The PCS2 Pick'em Challenge takes place from August 19th to September 8th for PC fans, and August 27th to September 8th for fans on console. During this time, you can check out real-time tournament standings, information on participating teams, and player stats in the Esports tab in-game. After PCS2 finishes, you'll be able to spend your earned EP in the Esports shop from September 15th until the 23rd. The shop is filled with exclusive PCS2 themed skins you can't get anywhere else, so make sure you spend your points while you can. Like before, the Pick'em Challenge is divided into 2 games, Pick the Winner and Team Face-Off. Pick the Winner lets you predict the overall champion from each region. You can only vote for each team once, but with a 100,000 EP prize, you're looking at up to 400k if your prediction game is on point. You'll need to use a voting coupon to cast votes for this game, which can be earned by purchasing PCS2 gear in the shop or through one of the free methods we'll talk about later. 25% of each PCS2 item sold goes directly back to the teams via evenly distributed direct payments and by bolstering the regional tournament prize pools. So you're getting cool stuff, increasing your odds to win even more cool stuff, and helping your favorite PUBG esports teams in the process. Team Face-Off is a game where you predict which of 2 teams will perform better in an upcoming matchup, and plays a little differently than PCS1. It's still a free game that doesn't require any voting coupons, but EP prizes will not be weighted based on how many votes each team has gotten. So it's up to you where to risk and where to play safe. Catching the intense PCS2 action live is its own reward, but you can also increase your Pick'em Challenge odds by watching live. Just like PCS1, codes will periodically show up on screen during the broadcast. Enter these in-game quickly, as only a certain number of people can claim each one. We'll also be giving out coupons and EP on Twitch through Twitch Drops. Twitch Drops are currently only available for Steam accounts and can only be acquired by watching on Twitch. To participate, make sure your Twitch, Steam, and PUBG accounts are all linked. You can get started easily by visiting accounts.pubg.com and logging in or creating your PUBG account if you haven't already. From here, you'll have easy access to link your accounts. Once linked, you can earn one free voting coupon and up to 20,000 EP just by spending time watching the PCS2 action live on Twitch. During the stream, you'll also be able to participate in quizzes that randomly appear on the official twitch.tv/PUBG channel. Answer correctly, get rewarded. PCS2 is happening soon, so familiarize yourself with the teams and plan out your strategy. All 4 PUBG regions are participating, and you can vote on them all. The more you watch, the better your odds of scoring unique skins for your own matches. PUBG Esports, PCS2, and the Pick'em Challenge. Get in on the action today.
Welcome back, and just a reminder, coupon codes will be given out throughout the broadcast after every single match. I'll be reading them out loud as well as showing them on the screen, and there will also be ways to get bonus EP and coupons throughout the event. Well, I'm joined here by Matrim and Hypoc. Gentlemen, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Oh, excited to be here, especially when we have all this time to pick up like all the PCS skins and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely thrilled to be joining you guys for day 1 of the Grand Finals here, but now that you've had a chance to catch your breath, I want you to explain a little bit more about esports points to me, Steve.
Fair enough. Well, let's talk about esports points and the bonus esports points available to you. That is how you get skins in game. In order to earn them, you can go ahead and do your pick'ems. You can go ahead and get your votes in for the face-off. And most importantly, there will be Twitch drops and quizzes during the PCS2 live streams here on this channel. You can acquire more free coupons and esports points while watching. But in order to do that, you have to link your Twitch, your Steam, and your PUBG account together. So if you haven't done that yet, use the talk time that's about to come to get over there and get that done. And a bit of a disclaimer, our quiz masters have told us that the quiz questions are ready, but the app is not, and the quizzes will begin tomorrow. However, we are still giving away coupon codes today, so it is going to be a heck of a good time. I've already introduced them. I've got Matcham here, who lives in the hottest place on earth, I've recently realized. And opposite to him is a man who lives in the dreariest place, perhaps, but is a pond away. And I got to be honest, I envy you a little right now, Hypoc. Welcome, gentlemen. Again, I'm super glad we're here.
Oh, 100%. We've had such a build-up into PCS2. It's almost as big as the build-up, talking about everything moving through. And yeah, guys, it's confusing when we're talking about all the esports points, the coupons and stuff like that. So thank you for Toffees breaking everything down, make it a little bit easier. Just remember to link everything together, guys, because you want to get your free stuff. No reason not to. But weeks and weeks of competition have led to this point. We finally got our top 16 teams, and we've got 3 weeks of action to move into, and today is day 1.
Hypoc, what are you hyped about?
Well, I was just about to say, I'm actually pretty excited about a little bit of a format change. Obviously, coming down to four games a day now. A little bit of a reset opportunity for the teams in between, because we're going to be playing locked maps on the days here. So, obviously, a Miramar day today. Whether or not that's going to be a factor for a couple of our teams. But, yeah, really excited to get the Grand Finals underway.
I have to agree 100%. A lot of time has been sort of getting us to this point. We watched Challengers 2 weeks ago, but now let's see the 16 teams who've made it here to the Grand Finals. Here's Porosaurus with a little more background on who's looking to hoist that trophy.
Are you ready for? Now that's what I call PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds Continental Series 2 North America Grand Final. 16 of the hottest teams together in one smoking hot competition. With PCS2 Grand Finals, you'll get all the hits, like You're Welcome for the Skins by Shoot to Kill. After dominating the airwaves once again in PCS2, this super group is looking to go double platinum. But don't look now, because We're Coming In Hot by Radiance has been climbing the charts at incredible speed. Up third, we have Don't You Forget About Me by Oath. After consistently being in the top 5, this might be the hit that takes them to the top. Right behind Oath are the Comets with their new hit, The Comets Are Streaking. And they sure are, coming into the finals as one of the hottest groups in North America. Up next, the name might have changed, but the hype is still the same with Team Veritas and their new hit, Second Time's a Charm, aka The Truth Hurts. The Sonics have had a change up in the band and have grown up by at least 2 feet collectively. But their new hit single, Tickle Fivehead, shows that they're still one of the most entertaining groups in NA. After seeing mixed success in the past, 303 Esports are experiencing some new Rocky Mountain highs by performing as a Gen G tribute band. Kamsahamnida, Gen G. And with PCS2 North America Grand Finals, the hits, knocks, and revives just keep on coming. We've also got Illusion and their new hit, Steady As She Goes. One of the most consistent groups around, they're hoping that this jam will be their next big leap up the charts and into your hearts. There's also the genre-shifting group Houston Hardships and their back-to-back classics, Ramping Up and Leveling Off. One starts off in high gear while the second shifts into low and slows down a bit. If they can rekindle the magic of Ramping Up, watch out. Next up is the fan-favorite group Zenith with their emo anthem, It Was One Very Bad Week. We'll see if they're over their emo phase and ready to rock here in the finals. Any trolls in chat reload once again with their new track, Maraca San Fuego, throwing even more spice into this already spicy Grand Final compilation. PCS2 Grand Final also delivers hits from groups like Dodge, and their most recent song, Pay No Attention to Our Final Day. But to hear all of these hits, you'll have to tune in. Showing that the B side of an album can often be the best side, we have Carnage and their popular song, Shut Up and Crash. It might not always work, but it's always exciting. We've also got a deep cut from Liberate, who recently wowed audiences with their freestyle flow, Play Like You Have Nothing Left to Lose. Those fresh beats could shoot these boys up to the top. Closing out the album, we have a killer track by Duel called We Will Destroy You. Or not, this group has seen some crazy highs and brutal lows, but fans are hoping for a big comeback. And finally, we have Fabled in their wistful ballad, Remember When We Were First. Now that they've made it to the Grand Final, they could be number one once again. There has never been a collection of teams like this until now. Now that's what I call PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds Continental Series 2 North America Grand Final. Just send a check or money order to me, Horosaurus. I accept Venmo, PayPal, I'll even accept Dogecoin if you have it. I'm not greedy. Let's start the show.
I've learned a lot from that video, but what I've learned the most is I will buy anything that Poro asks me to sell going forward. That was the 16 teams, gentlemen. We're going to throw up the graphics on the screen so everybody who's watching can sort of remember who's playing in one spot. I'm just going to turn it over to you guys to talk to me about which teams maybe you're excited about, which you're the most terrified for. Really, your time. Let's get into it, Matcham.
All right, so moving into this, there's a lot to be looking at. Whenever we look across all the teams, the 16 that have managed to qualify through here, we've got a lot of our known commodities that we're going to be talking about throughout the day, but we also have a lot of unknown commodities that are really trying to make their way through here. Even in Poro's video, which he so beautifully elaborated on every single one of these teams, consistency seems to be a factor for a couple of them, but could be a big moment for them. If they can really stabilize and find how they want to play through this series, we might have a couple of upsets on our hands.
No, and in particular for me, it's 303 and Sonics today. Sonics, for me, they're past the kind of, I guess, the allowance stage. I want to see a little bit more out of them, but you know what? Statistically, across everything PCS, NA-wise so far, including the Charity Showdown, they are our best performing Miramar team. So I'm excited for them to come out swinging on day one. They've been underwhelming, I think it's fair to say, but I'm expecting big things today. 303 for me as a team just keeps going strength to strength. So again, excited to see them do what they've been doing.
I think you hit on something very important there, Hypoc. Again, we're switching up things just a little bit. 4 Miramar matches in a row today, so Miramar teams are going to come out the gate swinging and have a decent opportunity to move up the leaderboard.
I don't think you can talk about a leaderboard without talking about the guys who dominated PCS1 with the Grand Championship, and we've actually prepared a video, a little bit of a tribute to the Iron Men of PUBG. It's STK, and a little more about their journey to the top. I'm excited about seeing if they can stay there, gentlemen.
going to be slaughter. Players haven't gone down. It puts it into a 2-on-1. Maybe a chance, but maybe not much of one. Wow. Confirm will go back to back.
But it's infantry doing work. Infantry looking to assert their dominance. They're looking to end. But the dream is crashed, and so is infantry taking the win. I mean, infantry asserting their dominance, putting their foots. Very hurt. The walls are closing in, and infantry is going to take game number 2. Through the door, Rustamman, what can you do? Not a great deal.
Seabard's position is just on that little bit of a ridge. He keeps him alive. He's gone down. Miraku goes fully for course. Hero plays from Iroh, but does he die? No! Hero play from TSM.
That's going to be a flush there and shoot to kill. I think they see beams. Yes, they do. Curry will get the down and a flush.
But his position is now revealed, and they are on the hunt, and they close that one out quick. Shoot to kill.
Welcome back. You can tell I'm North American because we featured all of the winners of Global PCS1, but the only shout-out I gave was STK. Speaking of shout-outs, let's do predictions. You guys know I like to ask who's going to win this thing, and I'm going to do it again. I want us to put our money where our proverbial mouths are, though I expect everyone to pick exactly the same thing. I have decided to deviate, boys. I think that there is a team that is a world-class team living in a giant's shadow, and I think that is Radiant. So I'm going to pick them to win this tournament. I don't know if I'm going to be right, but I think I believe. I want to believe. Matchroom.
The confidence was oozing there.
Yeah, I know. I respect your decision for going for the team that's in the giant's shadow. But I've always picked the Giants, and I'm just going to stick with them. It's going to be shoot to kill for me. These guys are on a hot streak. We've been waiting years for them to perform, and by God, I'm going to ride out every moment of glory until it ends.
Hypoc?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, for me, yeah, it's a given, really. I'm not really a betting man, but if for results or anything to go by, it's got to be STK, right? They've hit some absolutely fantastic form. I think it would be stupid to vote otherwise, Steve.
Well, I now have to send you a picture of my in-game voting to show that I'm not completely insane. However, we want to throw a little spice out there, have a little bit of fun with it. Well, gentlemen, it's almost time for us to get this match started. Real quick, final thoughts as we kick off our first round. We'll start with you, Hypoc, as we prepare for 4 games in a row of pure Miramar.
No, like I said, I'm excited for the obviously the slight format change going into 4 Miramars. I'm just hoping that some of our teams that maybe have been slacking a little bit can pick that up.
Teams have had weeks to research now to move back in, figure out how they want to handle everything. They should be approaching Miramar very intelligently the whole way through. The question comes down, how much have they learned? And by God, can we get some spicy circles on Miramar? If we're going to be going through 4 of them, I want some hardships coming the way. We got the top 16 teams. Let's see them prove it.
Absolutely. I can't disagree with that at all. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. The game is getting ready to roll. Let's hand over now to 4 games of Miramar with our Desert Divas, the maestros of Miramar, the sand sensations themselves. It is none other than Clover and Godspeed.
Well, what an absolute introduction that was. Oh, man.
It's hard to live down, but you heard it here, right? We're going to Miramar. This is you and I's map. This is our home. This is our favorite map. Shout out to all the other Miramar fans. Godspeed. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited. Of course, couldn't do Miramar without us. I mean, let's be completely honest. We are the Miramar people. But I'm extremely excited for the grand finals. I'm really excited to see if STK can continue their dominance of what they had in the group stages. Although starting with Miramar, teams like Oath and Sonics have actually had the best overall Miramars with Illusion in that mix as well. I think starting with this map is great. It's a different, as Hypoc was saying, it's kind of like a different change of pace, and I'm just really looking forward to these grand finals. I want to get in there. Let's get in there.
Yeah, you know, and I kind of shout out as well to Toffee's picks, right? Radiance is who we saw just do so incredibly well during the group stage. This is another team that also really performed well on Miramar. McCoy, I think, actually kind of led the kills for Miramar, so it'd be really interesting to see how well that they are going to do for today. And as well, too, I mean, this is kind of the story of whether or not Shoot to Kill can keep that momentum going. That win from PCS1, a win for group stages here for PCS2. A Shoot to Kill, it's not that they're bad at Miramar, but that's not where their strengths lie. And I think that this could give some of those other teams the opportunity to come out a little bit strong here on day one.
It's possible. I mean, I always remember, at least back competing against the guys on SDK, that they were actually, I think, pretty strong on Miramar. But I think over, over time, they've really tightened up Erangel, and they are definitely one of the biggest threats, if not the biggest threat on Erangel, I think, at this point. But this plane path, I'll be honest, it's kind of just a regular plane path.
I mean,
not something that I'd want to start with.
Vanilla plane path. And I think sometimes when we see these plane paths, we see a very central circle, one that can kind of sometimes take us up until phase 4 or 5 to see a lot of action, giving these teams a lot of easy opportunities to rotate. But at the same time, we've also seen a handful of circles start to go more and more north towards that Pozo and even Oasis area. So that said, should be a pretty easy, I think, phase 1 to start, given this circle.
Yeah, I mean, even the south, things like, Chuma or Leonis, like that, more so on the west coast that were cut off, like teams are going to be able to get there just fine. It was just a very vanilla plane, as you said. As far as where the circle goes, I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy, which, I'm sure for a lot of these guys, they probably enjoy that, like a nice, normal, regular game to play on the first day of Grand Finals. So we'll see where this one goes. Yeah, and that's...
Oh, there we go. About what we expected, right?
Yeah, pretty vanilla. This is an interesting circle in the sense that if it does actually set up around where you see Sonics, that could be a very tricky situation to navigate, because there's a lot of compounds in that area, but there's not a lot of actual cover amongst the space in between the compounds, so that could get a little sketchy. We might see some teams crashing or playing a little aggressive around that row, but we'll have to see. And STK are just comfortably going to be looting their home in Hacienda.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Sonic's kind of jumping back on that for a split second. They really like to loot out in the center of the map, right? On Erangel, we always see them go into Pachinki. Obviously, here on Miramar, they've got that Picado. But I think a really interesting thing right now is that a couple of teams have changed up their drops from the group stages. Typically, we saw Chumacera taken by the Houston Hardships, which actually opted for Puerto Paraiso this time around. So kind of an interesting change in dynamic, because now if you're looking at teams like Radiance and Sonics, who are sitting nice and center, there's not really a team out to the south of them with Houston gone.
Yeah, and I honestly think Radiance, if any team, will take advantage of that. It's just because, Los and Waldo as former teammates, that Chuma was kind of our home, right? And that's somewhere that I know for a fact that Los and Waldo feel very comfortable playing around. I mean, the Church of Los is something we've talked about a lot back in the Rumbler days. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Radiance, kind of make some sort of play towards Chuma or play out of it, depending on whether or not this was a decision by Hardships to kind of loot Puerto now instead of going, straight to Chuma because it was a bad path for them, or this is a flex or what it is. But I guess we'll have to see what happens with Chuma in the south there.
Yeah, and, kind of a thing, too, is we've often talked about teams that have the very center of the zone and how that can be a bit detrimental, and that if they don't have enough loot or kind of a little bit trapped here, Radiance, straight in the center of a circle, doesn't have to move right away. And now you've got two members of Sonics that have pushed out from Picado. Mime and I think Tiggleton kind of on a little bit of a mission here.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, Sonics, man, they didn't have a travesty of a group stage by any stretch of the imagination, but they definitely, in my opinion, had a disappointing group stage. I expected these guys to come out firing, and especially with Tig, I know there was a little bit of an adjustment period there, but they started a little slow, so I'm really hoping all those kinks are kind of ironed out, especially coming into the Grand Finals, because Sonics is a team that I'm very much looking forward to work here in the next couple of weekends.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Tiggleton did have a little bit of an adjustment to work with here, and they've had 2 weeks to kind of work out all of those kinks, and now we're starting to see that come into play as Sonic's already out with the strong push. H-Win actually getting knocked there by Waldo. McCoy picks up the flush, and already Sonic's down 1 onto this. Look, Tiggleton still in the area. Smokes are out, but it's a little bit difficult of an angle for him to escape from right now, as we can see Shrimsy trying to offer some covering fire here.
I mean, they knew that Radiance was there. I'm assuming the way they set up, how careful they were. And Huynh driving on the... I thought he was going to drive on the backside, which he did, but more so on the... where he wouldn't be, kind of line of sight on that doorway. I don't know. That was just unfortunate for Huynh. That's just going to be Sonic starting off this, game 1 of the Grand Finals with Huynh down.
Yeah, I mean, an interesting play for them at all. And of course, it looks like they're just going to go ahead and vacate Picado. But in all the time that this has gone on, Veritas has kind of moved into those areas that we talked about that have not been taken. And so as we take another look, though, around the map, it actually looks like we've got Duel and Zenith that are rotating right next to one another north of Los Leones here. Roth, Leda, already out. Kickstart's actually going to get a knock onto Danny G.
That was
going to get this fight pumping.
I don't even know how... That was a crazy nice spray coming out of Kickstart. I mean, he deleted Danny. And now...
Leda as well. Look, that Wooly down to about 75 HP as more shots out from Zenith Esports. Early, you know what? I kind of take my words back. We said this was going to be a very basic round number 1, but I think instead we're seeing a lot of aggression come from teams, especially teams that were kind of in the middle of the leaderboard for groups. They were not, I think, as strong as we've often seen them in the past. So something to show in the start. We're seeing it right now, though, as Roth trying to go wide for another angle onto Duel. Got them pinned down here and trying to finish this rotation back away. And they need to do so quickly. More teams are rotating in from the east.
Yeah, and to be honest, this is the type of aggression I really want to see. This is what I was kind of looking forward to, and seeing which of the teams, especially like Zenith, a team that we know is so explosive. But again, in the similar vein of Sonics, they kind of had a really quiet group stage. I want to see them pushing the pace very early. That means that they're confident. They want to take fights. They're comfortable in taking those early fights, knowing that they're going to get out of those with at least a couple kills, hopefully a couple points without losing people. And that's what you want to see in a Grand Finals, is these teams really pushing each other to play at their best. And so far, I mean, Zenith very comfortably looks like they were willing to take a fight there, and Duel also didn't want to back down, and they were able to get Danny up. So as far as those two teams and how they're approaching the beginning of this Grand Finals, I love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, Liberate, right, that we're kind of watching right now, was a team that actually didn't even wait for the break between the group stages and the Grand Finals. They started pushing through in week 2, and we saw them from being a team that looked like they were going to be completely out of the top 16 to securing themselves pretty well in the middle of the top 16 that did qualify on. And I think that change of aggression, as you said, of pacing, that they were able to pull off really showed that growth. And so it's something that we've been wanting to see from some of these other teams that we know have the potential to place really high, really well here in the Grand Finals, because you can't only look at the group stages and say, well, that's how they did in group stages, that's how they're going to do here. Things are very, very different. And 303 now rotating into Dodge as well. So this would be a very interesting play indeed. Honey Badger scouting up ahead. He's going to get Finna knocked down. That's huge right now, but it looks a trade as D-Rich falls as well. Corsic picks that one up. Crop rotating for another angle, trying to spot out Landoon and Honey Badger here.
That was disgusting spray from Honey Badger to follow up Kickstarts. Yeah, this was actually a really smart way for 303 to engage and scout. They stopped where they had cover. They got a good knock. At the same time, Dodge had set up pretty well on this to kind of receive that. Unfortunately, they suffered a knock immediately, which was Finna going down, and then the recovery from 303. So well played by 303. Again, that's one of the teams that I'm really looking at this Grand Finals, especially after having a chat with Honey Badger, seeing where their mindset is. I think these guys have a fantastic outlook on going into the game in the Grand Finals. I think that they have a great attitude. The preparation has seemed to be top notch for them, and 303 is one of the teams that improved the most out of group stages. So I mean, that was a really well executed play there for them.
Yeah, I think when we talked a lot during the group stages about the players that had the most growth, Honey Badger was the name that kept coming up once we hit that
100%.
third week. because of just not only so much that he accomplished as a player, but helped accomplish for the team. And we heard a little bit in that interview earlier with you about his growth as an IGL, and I think that that's been really huge, and the difference of style of play from 303 in PCS1 and 303 here in PCS2.
And I think the biggest thing is, I just straight up asked him, I was like, you were a little disappointing on Veritas, and he agreed, 100%. And it was something that I had brought up on a broadcast where I just thought that he got thrust into a situation with 3 superstars, and he just wasn't able to kind of figure out, his playstyle, his role in that team. Fast forward to now when he's on 303, and I really do feel like the team has been built around not only him, but he's built himself around that team, and that's why their synergy is so great. That's why I think he's kind of blossomed as a fragger and IGL. He's kind of hitting those Purdy Curdy vibes. He's not there yet, but I think he's getting there, and that's the important thing, and that's why I really enjoy watching 303.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, as we kind of flip back into it, Zenith with Roth, I think this is another player that we've sometimes talked about with growth, with standing. And Roth is a little bit frustrating, I want to say, on and off, just from some consistency, right, for PCS2. And that's kind of been, I think, our issue with Zenith for PCS2.
I think Roth's approach to, kind of leading that team, and I'm not going to say it's an incorrect approach, is he really wants to let the guys, kind of live and breathe and do what they're good at. And there's challenges within that, specifically when you have such, kind of strong-minded players and talented players. He's even said it in an interview with us where he's like, sometimes I just trust them to do their own thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So there's a delicate balance that Zenith has to hit, that we've seen them hit in the past, and they've killed it. But we've also seen them, kind of hit those lows as you were just talking about.
Yeah. Now, of course, I think the team that we haven't really spent as much time getting into, Shoot to Kill.
Never heard of them.
I mean, this is a team of four full all-stars. I mean, all 4 players on the top 10 of just about every stat that we measured here for the group stages. And it's, I don't want to say in a huge contrast, but when we look at PCS1, when we look at some of the earlier events through this year and even last year, right, when they were as Lazareth in the MPL, we just see such tremendous growth and their real ability to take over North American PUBG.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind at this point, and there shouldn't be in anyone's, that they are the best team currently in North America. I mean, I think that much is set in stone. And I just think that's their work ethic. I really don't think there's a single team in PUBG that works as hard as them, at least in our region. And there isn't a group of guys that have been playing together longer. That's just a recipe for success. They obviously have a great support. We've talked to death about their support team between the families, Owen, their coach, and everyone else that helps them. And I mean, they're here to dominate, and so far they have. We'll see. It's obviously the start of the Grand Finals. Miramar, not their strongest map, but we've seen them.
I mean, we've seen them. We've seen them pull out so many miracles on Miramar too. But that said, Comet's now trying to take this approach onto Carnage. The circle is just about to shift. We'll see where it goes, and it is going to pull away from this area. So Carnage do have an opportunity to gatekeep. Or sorry, I guess Comets, gatekeep Carnage here, and so we're already seeing that transition rotation coming out. Dietrich's picking up the Murado. With this Picado, all of that open area out to the south of that, this is a bit of a tricky circle.
This is the circle I was
still having
talking
61
about.
players alive.
Yep, this is exactly the circle I was talking about. There's, there are a couple compounds in play, but other than that, it's all terrain. And I'm really curious to see how some of these teams that aren't in the compounds are going to play their terrain, because there's quite a few dips, nice little ridges, especially with vehicles that could make a nice home for any of these teams that don't currently find themselves, in Picado, one of the main little compounds around it. So this is the one I thought we would see some crashing and some desperation plays, especially for the teams not in, and this is the circle we got. So let's see if I'm right.
Yeah, and, as you said, right, Picado is in the circle right now. We haven't really seen too much action in the city just yet, and so we're going to see quite a bit of edge play from some of those teams that we sometimes will kind of take the more cautious approach into the mid to late game, which is where we're at right now. We see Carnage right now sitting on the edge, 303s out to the edge, Duel here rotating along the edge of Leonis, but in the direction that they're heading, there's not really a lot of free entry points into the zone. We've still got plenty of teams sitting out to the south, and so Wooly and them are going to have to be a little bit quick to see starting to take just a little bit of blue damage. It's only phase 3, so Wooly can still stand to take a little bit, but once we get to phase 4, that's going to be a bit of a risk here, as we can see Cherry actually driving well south of Carnage out of their point line of sight. So that said, you know, it's where this next circle goes, right? And as you said, where these teams are going to play from, expecting a lot of the long-distance sniping action. We've already seen quite a bit into the kill feed for game number 1. I think this is going to be the big decider for some of the momentum for some of these teams today.
Oh, man, and as we're talking about that, here comes Zenith, first crash.
Full
and this
send.
compound's not even in, I might add.
Ooh, and Leda right now already working on the door. Shots on to Liberate his Icy Flex. Oh, excuse me, wrong team out fighting there. More shots out from Zenith. As we see Kickstart, Leda stuck now behind. In fact, this is a bit of a hard angle for them to hold here because there aren't any windows. We see Roth does have protection, but also can't get line of sight here on Deliberate.
This is honestly kind of rough for both teams. This is not the greatest compound to fight in, whether you're holding or you're crashing. Zenith has hit the right angle, though. You want to come in from the east because that's, as you said, that's the area with the least windows. And here comes the push. Simply Mac to throw a grenade and try to stall as much as possible. But yeah, this is rough because this isn't even in the circle. These guys are fighting for a position that is just going to get them in. It's not even inside itself.
Yeah, and I mean, even inside, you've got Carnage Gaming waiting for them right at the line. So they're going to have to work on this quickly. Simply Matt jumping out of the window, looking for some angle here onto Zenith. And using up quite a bit of utilities. We've seen smokes and flashes come back out. Guab can't find him just on the other side of the car here. Peek around a little bit lower. There we go. Finds them underneath. Gets a knock. Guabi gets Leda, Roth, and Kickstart. 3 players down. Looks to flush it out, but Simply Matt picks up Mystery in the end. Liberate, annihilating Zenith. Guabi was down to 1 HP. I don't think he's going to get
I'm not even mad if Guab goes down to the blue. I mean, that was such an incredible play, going for the little toesies. And his patience there, I really thought it was going to Simply Matt that came across on the left side and went for that. But the patience from him, he backed off. Guab decided that now was the time to get aggressive, especially because of the knock. That was so well played by Liberate. This is definitely not the same team that we saw in the beginning of, groups. These guys have really leveled up and taking out Zenith in such an impressive fashion. I mean, even if they go down here, that's not a bad way to start.
No, I mean, this is a team that I think, the most curious about. I wanted to see if that growth that we saw in group stages was going to continue on to the finals. So to hit phase 4, already have a full squad wipe and still looking to be in a decent position, giving me hope just yet. But now Oath is a team that there was a little bit of question marks. They had some really fantastic high score days. Then they had a couple of goose egg games that we know that they can sometimes put out. And I think a few games where they struggled quite a bit. Regardless of that fact, Snakers still managed to be the #1 damage leader for group stages. So obviously things are working for them. They're so close, I think, to being their perfect self. It's just a little bit of polish that Oath has been needing to work on.
I mean, yeah, they still ended in the top 3. They're obviously one of the strongest teams. We'll talk about them later as we're now getting into a fight between Carnage and Radiance. It's going to be a knock coming straight onto Waldini. And now they're going to recover with a little bit of health on Zray. Oh, and a knock on Los as well.
There we go, Zray looking for an angle here onto Radiance. As it looks like made it up on their finds, the last one. And Radiance gone in the blink of an eye. 4 kills for Carnage. This has been a very active team here on
This has been awesome, man. Not because Radiance has got wiped. That's not what I was trying to. That sounded bad. Let me start over. Seeing teams like Liberate and a team like Carnage, go up against those much more established and quite honestly, I think slightly stronger teams in Radiance and Zenith, and wiping him in that fashion, that's incredibly awesome to see, the confidence coming from these guys. As we watch Simply Matt desperately try to go, it doesn't look like he's going to get out of there alive, but I just like these teams that were kind of on the bottom of groups really stepping up and taking the fight to the top teams immediately. I love it. This is what I want to see in a grand finals.
And unfortunately as well, Liberate is going to go out here. But as you kind of mentioned earlier, when we got to those later circles, there was going to be very few compounds to put down. And that's where we saw Liberate struggle just a bit. Meanwhile, 12 teams, 45 players still standing. The Blues starting to close in. We should have the next phase in about 30 seconds. But we can see right here, Fabled actually has sight here onto Sonics. A little bit of damage coming out. But this is all just taking down armor, kind of working each other down at this point, because if you get somebody to knocked, you're most likely going to be able to get them rezzed at this range.
Yeah.
As we can see, I think it's, even Matrim said before today, those toxic circle shifts are really going to be something that could come into play here for Miramar as we wait for the next zone.
Yeah, I mean, even though, as you said, people are going to get knocked and revived, the most important part of that and why it's still important is because you're damaging armor. You're essentially weakening them so that when you do get in a fight, if it's at closer range or if someone has to, move out to get in order to stay in the circle, their armor isn't great or they don't have any, you've knocked their helmet off, and so it's still very important to get that damage across. But as you said, the reses will come out, so it's more of a battle of attrition at this point, and there's really not much to play in the circle, so a lot of these teams are starting to run out of options.
Yeah, and speaking of running out of options, we've got 2 teams to the south, 3 teams really that all need to work their way into the zone. We can see 303 starting to work their way across the street. Dodge, Hardshifts also working their way up to the north. And when you look to see what's in the zone above them, looking at that mini-map, there really isn't much. And so 303 taking a chance here, crashing onto Dodge's compound to work their way into zone. I'm not quite sure if Honey Badger realizes exactly how many members of Dodge are still here. And smokes are out now. Comets also crossing paths, going right into the zone, are taking fire from Dodge. Landoon has been found out at a distance. So unfortunately, Landoon not able to get across the streets. We kind of take a little bit of a swing backwards. You see just how many teams are shooting down here.
Yeah, and Honey Badgers, I mean, he is just trying to survive at this point. Whatever kill he can get is going to be, a net gain for them. As they already have 2 kills, it's going to be 1 knock coming out. Can he get the flush? No, he went for it. I respect that. But that's going to be it. So 303 is going to go ahead and end in 12th place with 2 kills.
And Dodge should have enough time to get that res out, as we see. Meanwhile, Carnage pushed down from the hill onto Sonics. Mime and air is falling. Maji very low, and Shrimsy and Tiggleton trying to hold this out a little bit longer. Carnage is continuing this battle. ATC also pushed in from behind him. We could see on the minimap as they came out of Picado. So this is a very, very busy corner now as Shrimsy trying to find the angle on here. A bit of pre-fire. No one there to take it.
I can't see it.
As
He's
Utility
just on the
continues
corner.
to come out. Nice angle. Shrimsy is actually going to fall down to Maji. Picks up the flush as well. Tiggleton on his own. Can he get Maji down as Maji gets ticked down to about 21 HP?
And this is such an awkward compound to hold, the one that Sonics is in now fighting Carnage. I mean, you're just open to so many angles aside from the one that you're already trying to hold on the people crashing you. So it's not a great compound, but it's the one that Sonics ended up in, and because of that, it's just Tig now, and he's got to do whatever he can to try to, salvage this. He's gonna see. Oh, can he get Maji? He does, and that's going to be huge because he's the last one alive, and that's going to be elimination of Carnage.
I mean, good for Tig, who immediately taking more shots there onto the hard shifts, trying to get another knock. I think the big thing that helped out Tiggleton as well is that we had a couple different teams out from the north that were taking shots. I did see that Fabled managed to get a knockdown onto one of the Carnage members as well, but with that, the circle's coming to shift once again, and it's staying pretty centralized, but there's not much to play for the teams that don't already have a compound.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, Fabled and Illusion are going to have to fight for the north. You have SDK, who's probably going to clean up the south, and then it's really just going to be a bloodbath on all the edges here. Hard Shifts is going to have to contest. Oh, man, Hard Shifts is in a rough position because they're essentially going to have 2 teams looking at them.
Damage coming out from Lobes. A bit of a trade there, but Crop is ultimately going to fall by J-Sank at range. Chuba should have time to get the res here onto Lobes. But this is the edge of zone, and as you said, they're going to have to work hard to play for it. Shoot to Kills Hill, I think, is the closest there for Hardships to make a push. Now Fabled working their way in as well, trying to battle out ATC for this hill. As Nate's coming out from Greg Shot, looking for a flush onto Norcus. Ooh, Marcelic actually is going to fall to that nade.
Yeah, and Fabled, I mean, they have a good position now. They just need to take out ATC, and then they actually have a lot of room to work with, to be completely honest, because Tiggleton is, as a solo, he's really not much of a force to keep them out. Plus, they have that amazing ridge in front of them. So Fabled has a lot to gain here by wiping ATC if they can, and they need to do that quickly.
Yeah, and more shots out, but Aguila ultimately getting the knock onto Hella there. As the rest of Fabled coming up onto the ridgeline, trying to keep her alive, as we see more utility coming back out towards ATC. But even looking at Rip, all he's got left are smokes, and that's going to make this just a bit difficult for Fabled as they're running out of damage utility. Still, Marcelic bleeding out, and so the res coming up for Hella. But I can see, I mean, Rip, it's a really hard angle for him to work with because off in the distance, you've still got Tiggleton, like you said, who's really a force to be reckoned with here. A couple shots out, and that's all it's going to take to get a couple knocks onto Fabled. Meanwhile, off in the distance, we can even see Shoot to Kill Hardshifts starting to battle out for that hill.
The more time Fable takes to clean up ATC, the less time they're going to have to deal with STK and Veritas.
Ooh, and there you go. Oh, Maluk is actually going to get vehicle explosion. It will be enough to get the knock onto Alo as Hardshift's coming in for a push, but Tiggleton escaping that compound, I think, threw him all by surprise. Shots out in this area. They haven't gotten the knock just yet onto this, but Tiggleton is low on health. 5 kills already for the Hardshifts here. And they have saved all their utility up for the end. Still 2 Molotovs onto Maluk, who's going to get the flush onto Alo. If they can continue to put the pressure onto Shoot to Kill here, that's another body to loot. More things to grab onto this as well.
Tig is in such a sneaky little spot because, you know, Hardships, because of the elevation, they actually don't have an angle on it. And I don't know if, to be honest, I don't know if STK knows that Tig is there, so he could potentially cause some problems for them as well. But the big one for them is easily Hardships in front on this ridge. And here comes the shift, and that's going to push them into the rest of STK as Fabled still hasn't dealt with ATC.
Yeah, I mean, Fabled still has 2 members of ATC to deal with, Aguila and Norcus, who've been down onto the hill. And meanwhile, Shoot to Kill, 3 players up, dealing with the full 4-man strong here of Hardshifts. And as you said, Tiggleton, I don't think either team really has a good angle on Tig just yet, without peeking and putting themselves at risk of being taken from another team out. Meanwhile, I think Hardshifts have just said, you know what, we've got a full send. Here comes Fabled as well. I mean, the caution on this hill, it's going to cost them, as you said, if they don't clean this up quickly.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely going to cost them. And Oath is also in a very good position as you know, as well as Illusion. So they're really hurting themselves by not, you know, just kind of making that decisive decision, being aggressive, pushing and cleaning this out. To be fair, you know, ATC is entrenched in a very obnoxious position to push, but they got to do something about it quick. I mean, they needed to do that like a minute and a half ago.
I mean, Fabled as well. Look, we're already taking sight onto Shoot to Kill, onto Hardshifts, onto everybody on the other edge. So Haxetti now has an opportunity to take that push onto Norcus, spotting out Aguila. Look at that knock. Norcus, all that's left up for ATC right in front. Haxetti through the smoke. Can he spot them on the other side of the truck? The members of Fabled out. Shots out from him. Can't find Norcus just yet. Fabled looking for the angle. Gets him here. Perfect. Greg shot with the barrel, and Fabled finally takes out ATC, and not a moment too soon. Tiggleton has managed to just barely snake his way in. Look at this.
I mean, he's making it work. He's survived quite a bit. Multiple teams have fallen since he's been up, but now Hardships is going to be pushing. But here comes Veritas from behind. Spray
Veritas. Veritas has had that compound for much of the last few phases, has finally pushed out to try and get in on the action. As you see, already damage coming out onto the Hardshifts. Lobes is going to get knocked and flushed out by Uncivil. And we can see what's left of SDK, Curdy, and Civ now lying low, trying to stay alive. Oh, I don't think Civ just saw Tiggleton. He was right behind him.
Oh, Civ!
Oh!
He's not going to get it.
No, Sharp Shot gets Uncivil as Tiggleton got Curdy. Sonic's still up. And we can see now 6 teams, 14 players left alive. And Veritas finally capitalizing on their good fortune for the circle, but that good fortune comes to an end now as the circle has pushed further north. Oath, Relo, and Pat Caps positioned well into the center, and Illusion still on the high ground if they've been in this game as well. And we can see there now on the match ranking, Fabled and Hardships both with 10 kills each.
Yeah, Hardships has been really working this southern side, and they've been aggressive. They've lost members, but man, they've gotten a nice amount of points, and it's paid off for them. Overall, J-Sank now is the last one to survive, but you know, Fabled really, as much time as I kind of criticize them for taking and getting rid of ATC, they find themselves in a very good position with a nice amount of kills, and they've been playing this game very well. This is reminiscent of the last Grand Finals when they popped off early.
And Tiggleton will find J-Sank. As you said, wins solo, a force to be reckoned with. 5 teams now, 11 left alive. And we take a quick overview look at everybody's positioning here. I love this angle that Illusion has. My question is, what are they going to be able to do with it? We've been seeing them play a little bit cautious, which is sometimes a bad habit that they can get themselves trapped into. These are all players on this team, that are fully capable of putting down a lot of damage and racking up a lot of kills, but sometimes I think that hesitation can come out. Now that we're in the late game, hope to see it unleash as Icy Flex unleashing shots onto Pentalo, the last player out for Veritas. We've got a lot of solos still left into this.
And I think Flex knows that Pat's there, or he suspects it. He keeps looking over kind of in that direction. But Relo is in a lot of trouble as well. All he has is that vehicle for cover. And Penta just trying to survive, man. Illusion, I think this honestly might just come down to Illusion and Fabled at this point, and they've racked up 10 kills already, dominating this first game.
Yeah, Pentalol has finally been spotted out. We did see Tiggleton go down as well. So 4 up for Fabled, 3 for Illusion, and both Pat Caps and Rello up for Oath. So 3-2-1, 4-3-2. It looks like Break Shots has once again spotted out Rello, and more shots. If you're Relo, you've got to get across the street. There's not really going to be an easy way to do this with 2 strong teams out to the north. The big issue, of course, is going to come from Pat Caps, who's going to be able to spot him and deal with them. But Pat Caps coming in for a hard push onto Illusion, getting a knock onto Icy Flex. Adam taking shots out onto this. Illusion actually has been fully eliminated now by Pat Caps. That
was a beautiful play by Pat, by the way.
Well.
He used a lot of that confusion to come up and push, and I was just about to say, you know, in the middle of that, you know, don't count Oath out, but Relo has fallen. But Pat, you know, not the worst angle. I don't want to say it's impossible. It's unlikely, but that flash. Oh.
Good shot there from Rip on the end. 13 kills for Fabled as they take victory here in Game 1, Match 1 of the PCS2 Grand Finals. This is there we go. Very good introduction, very good start for everybody today.
Yeah, and man, Fabled, they just they have this ability, it seems, when it comes to the Grand Finals to really just turn it on and dominate from the start. And this is exactly how they, you know, kind of came out in the last Grand Finals. And man, what a nice first game for them. But also, you know, STK fought really hard shifts, you know, went through the south and really gave it their all. And that was a good start to the tournament, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, really, I was kind of worried about the circles if it was going to be too boring, but I think it did a really good job at pushing everybody onto each other and forcing a lot of aggression in the early to mid game for a lot of those teams. Shout out as well to Liberate. We saw that wonderful play by Guabi and Simply Matt earlier when they took out Carnage. I mean, there was a lot of fantastic things to see as kind of a taste for how the Grand Finals are going to go.
Yeah, we also saw Carnage, you know, deal very swiftly with Radiance, who's is one of my teams to look out for to potentially take this. So, I mean, that was also very impressive for them. And Fabled, I mean, that's one hell of a way to start. Let me just say that much. And so, STK, you know, they obviously we're going to talk about them as they were the PCS1 Grand Finals champions. You know, they fought pretty hard to get to that position. They just got sandwiched. You know, that was a rough spot. The fact that they even made it there, fighting through the teams that they did, well done to them. So first game is in the books.
Yeah, and of course with that, you and I are going to go take a very quick break as we toss this back to everybody at the host desk. So that's it for us. We're going to be back with one more game here in just a moment. But guys, take it away.
I'll see your 1 game and raise you 2 more. 3 games left to go, but before we do that, it's code time. P7218TY4APUX. Guys, similar to PCS1, you can get a free voting coupon while watching live broadcasts. Redeem this code in the ad bonus / gift code section of the Pick'em Challenge event tab. Codes are very limited, so act fast. You can only redeem 1 free voting coupon per PUBG account. So once you win, you're in. I will also read the code right away after the game every single time. So if you're, one monitoring or you need to hear it and not write it, I'm going to give you the best chance you have to try and get yourself a coupon. So good luck. I hope you get it this time. P7218TY4APUX. Good luck. Godspeed. All right, guys, let's talk about the match. It was a good one. We saw Fabled come out with the win, a good kill count. This is a team, Matchroom, that barely made it to the top 16. They advanced by 1 point over 17th place. This is a pretty good start.
Well, we talked about it beforehand, about there's plenty of time to do the research to try to clean everything up and move into this. Fabled was involved in a lot of the fighting that was going on in the mid-game up towards the north. One thing that helped out a lot of people inside the lobby was how the road kind of ran through everything, and phases 5, 6, and 7 led to where we had Veritas, we had the hard shifts fighting, we had shoot to kill fighting. They were all just climbing up the side of that, and I feel like that was the deciding factor. But do note, Fabled stepped into that fight when they heard it going on, and that's where they picked up a lot of their kills. So don't think the fact that they were just hiding off in the distance. They were involved in taking on some of the biggest teams in this lobby to get this win.
Y'all keep breaking it down. Let's roll the highlights in the meantime.
Yeah, Matt's absolutely right. Came down to two really pivotal hill positions. Around about circle 5, it was SDK and Hardships on one side, Fabled Illusion on the other. Obviously, SDK with some kind of early, I guess, aggressive positioning. Radiant's getting absolutely rolled in this one, by the way, outside the red brick. This was surprising to see. I'm not sure if Carnage kind of surprised them by being there. And Clover brought this one up. And I know we talked about this as well, Steve. This was a nice swipe, but there was plenty of time to deal with that before the circle closed. I'm not sure why it went on that long. But anyway, obviously SDK, some early aggressive positioning. Didn't really find enough contact in the mid game, so they couldn't really convert any kills in. Obviously, Hardships moving up on them, but it was circle 7 that actually forced everyone towards SDK. And Veritas actually flexing out of the compound was the deciding factor there.
Yeah, I was talking about the fact that I wanted some Hardships moving into this. That way we get a little bit of spice in the movement around. But a lot of the midsection was defined by Hardships and their movement. They had Veritas that was back over towards the west, and they were the early aggressors back over towards shoot to kill to force them to play defensive. And again, Fabled and the other teams that were back over towards the north really capitalized off of this. We saw Illusion holding down position for quite a while as well. But really a very active and aggressive Fabled after they managed to get over ATC, who was blocking them out so long, really just opened up the doors for them. And I want to see more of this coordinated movement coming out from them.
Yeah, I think when we went into this, a lot of us talked about specifically STK, Radiance. We would talk about maybe Oath and Sonics. But I think as with any good Fable, they taught us a lesson. Hella and the boys came out of the gate and said anybody can win this thing if you find the right times, the right movement, and you make good plays. I mean, they come out with, what was that, 13 kills? I mean, that is a stellar game one, Hypoc. I mean, can they keep this up? They're a day one team.
I mean, that's the question we keep asking with Fabled, right? Yeah. They show signs of life. They have a couple of games where they pop off, but the consistency is not really there. And it's not even as if you could say they're a feast or famine style team, because it's just so rare that they do have these kind of blow up games. I mean, I'm absolutely rooting for them. Like I said, was it PCS1 we were talking about? Like day 3, Fabled was still in like the top 3 or something crazy like that. I can't remember exactly, but I mean, it's time and time again we. So, well, looks like Matt's lost the power, but maybe he just wasn't too interested in what I was talking about. Yeah, it's gonna. That's the big question, really, for Fabled, is whether or not they can keep it up.
I agree. I'm trying to find it real quick where they finished in the last set. I'll have to pull that up, but I think it was top. I think they finished 3rd at the end of the first day last time around. Because I actually went to my pick'ems in game and gave them one of my coupons because I was so impressed with how good day 1 went in the PCS1 Grand Finals. So maybe Hacksetti has finally found his position on the team and has sort of gelled in with them, and that's why they're back on track. We'll see. But that said, let's take a look at the match leaderboard. We'll get Matcham back as soon as the heat index of like 100 and plus stops melting his internet in Texas. Thank goodness we moved you to England for this broadcast, so at least one of you would survive the heat. Talking about this leaderboard, Hypoc.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the story of how the game went, to be honest with you. Not really anybody else managed to pick up too many points. Sonics was a bit of a surprise for me, but Tiggleton surviving as long as he did was absolutely fantastic effort from him. Solo effort towards the end there. But Veritas, it was a shame to see them not rewarded more with how proactive they were. I love seeing teams move out before they have to, making the most of their time through circles 4 and 5. So it's a shame to see them not come out with more, but you can't really turn your nose up at 8 points.
Matcham, thoughts?
I mean, it's a big performance coming out from Fabled, and you guys were alluding to it.
What I liked most about it
I was about to say the same thing myself.
He's, his power in silence. I will say, there are some favorites who didn't pull out and didn't do great in game 1. Shoot to Kill, Radiance, both on the right side of the board. And on the same token, though, Sonics and Hardships, Hypoc, are 2 teams that I think they both have big win potential. They've been kind of playing this, dipping their toe in the water to see if the temperature is right, it's almost felt like. Maybe this is the signal that they're finally plunging into this thing with wholeheartedly, because that's a great game for them.
It is, and to be honest with you, it was a bad game from Sonics. I say that because it came down to a solo effort of Tig, and it seemed a little bit sloppy there with the fight at the compound against Carnage, but if your bad game is picking up 9 points, I'll take it any day of the week, Steve.
100%, and like you said, exactly, when the wheels fall off, if you can still cross the finish line and get some placement, that's a pretty big deal. Let's take a look at the top kills for game number 1. Greg Shot from Fabled comes in with 5. So the rest of his team not slouches. They were sort of in that 4 area. You can see Hacksetti there as well. Tiggleton pulls off 5. He's nuts!
Let's go.
That's the boy.
Finally,
I mean,
I've wanted to see Tiggleton in a top 5 leaderboard, and here we are. Game 1, we got it.
Like Samson, when he shaved his head, I think he lost some of his power, but over time, it's come back to him. J-Sank at 4, Corsac at 3. There's a name we don't get to see very often on leaderboards. Congratulations, Corsac, for getting up there. Top 5 damage dealers for match number 1. A bit of a different story, Hypoc. Veritas, big representation here.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, they were proactive. They were coming out looking for fights and whatnot. But the other one, a bit of a surprise, and I touched on this. SDK having some early aggressive positioning. They weren't able to convert that just because they were getting so much pressure. But you can see Uncivil making it into 5th place in terms of damage. They were putting out a lot in the mid game. They just weren't really rewarded for it.
Interesting. Matchroom, any thoughts?
I mean, it comes down to the damage potential that we can see coming out from Veritas, in my opinion. This is going to be expected based off of their positioning. I want to see them kind of take more of these overarching positions to where they can kind of provide overwatch on repositions and go for more kills in rotation. That seems where they've had a lot of strength in the past, and I would like to see them continue on that. Based off the way that the circles moved around them this time, they had a strong defensive position, but nobody was fighting next to them. So I love to see them get out and get mobile and try to sweep back behind that big fight. Because really, Veritas was coming down from the south, and to the north is where we saw the Fabled push, and that's where the big explosion fight happened.
Yeah.
Fabled push hit like a truck. They come out with the first win, but there's another truck that's recently joined the PUBG game. Let's talk to our boy Fry as he tells you a little more about the brand new loot truck. I drive a minivan, so this is much cooler than that.
Hi, it's your favorite talking cookware Fry. Today we're going to talk about how to loot to survive in the battlegrounds. This season, you'll notice a friendly new face driving around Sanhok. It's the brand new loot truck. It delivers precious cargo. There's all sorts of ways to steal those sweet, sweet goods. You can drive behind it and shoot it. You can fly behind it and shoot it. You can throw down some spike strips and shoot it. Or you can let someone else shoot it and then shoot them instead. Isn't grand larceny fun? Well, see you next time, friends. And remember, if you're not surviving, you're not living.
If you want to take your shot at the loot truck and all the other cool gear, experiences, and quests that are now in the game, PUBG Season 8 is out. It is live. Hashtag live to survive. The only way to win cool stuff is to jump out of the plane and take a risk. Gentlemen, we've seen some teams jump out of the plane and take their risks so far. We know Fabled won. Are there any other teams that had moments that really stood out to you and said, hey, this is a big upside. I have potential. I'm excited for them going forward. We'll start with you, Matchroom, since you didn't get a chance to hang out too much earlier.
I would say Sonics. We were talking about the damage that we saw Tim put out just a second ago. I want to see, naturally, they had a little bit of a rough rotation coming in, but we saw a couple of moments with Tickleton specifically buying more points for his team and stepping into very aggressive points and performing inside of this. We know that this is a strong team. I just want them to move past the troubles of the mid phase.
Hypoc?
For me, it's eyes back towards Veritas, honestly. Like I've already said, I love seeing teams get proactive like that. And like Matt's already said, we've seen them set up traps a couple of times and get a bit smart about early positioning and picking up kills in rotation and things like that. So I want to see Veritas carry on with that because it's something I think we were missing from the group stages.
I 100% agree with that. I think there's even teams like Hardships and a lot of these, like I feel like we've missed some of the best players that PUBG has to offer, right? Like, I'll double down on Hardships for a second since it seems like we got another minute here. Maluk is somebody who, if you spoke about IGLs internationally, he was considered one of the best. And Hardships was kind of just bopping around 7th going into this.
Yeah, it's been weird, but they're once they find their form, they're fine.
I hope you're right, and I think we're ready to see if you are as we move into our second match of the night, a return to the desert with the dastardly deeds of Godspeed and Clover. Let's go now live to the action.
I think that he said we're dastardly. Dastardly?
I can't even spell that word, so yeah. I'll just leave that to
I don't think I could.
I'll leave that to him. Going into game number 2, I am curious to see
what Zenith and Radiance will do. Two of the teams that at least that I thought that was really going to make like a bigger impact on game one, at least, especially with the rotation they were coming in. They met a very quick demise, both of those teams. So let's see how they adapt, come out of it. I can tell you right now, the mindset on Radiance is probably fine. I don't really think that affected them. They're probably like, well, that didn't work. Reset, go to the next game. Zenith, on the other hand, I'm not sure, just because, again, I know that team has a lot of moving parts. So we'll see how that one plays out with them.
Yeah, and I think even as we kind of saw from the very beginning, Zenith was really getting caught off guard through a lot of their rotations. And I think there was a lot of things that were kind of thrown, wrenched into their gears, so to speak, to kind of help them falter just a little bit, of course, at the very end, meeting their demise to liberate. But Radiance, right, that's a big question mark for us, because that was over very, very quickly. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity for redemption. Radiance is one of the stronger Miramar teams. And I think given the locations that they loot, as well as where the flight paths and circles have been taking us, I think there's plenty of opportunities when we go into this next match today for them for, as you said, redemption.
I'll be honest, I'm not really worried about Radiance. I'm pretty sure they're going to be just fine. I think they're going to rack up points, and I think especially on this map, they're going to do well today overall. I think the first game was potentially them just getting surprised by Carnage. I'm not going to read too much into that. I just know that they happen to die really fast. That's all. As far as the recovery, this is a really good plane for everyone, especially the teams that may not had the best game in the first go around. It's a very even plane. It's going to cut the island in half. Everyone can go wherever they want to go. The circle, we'll see where that one goes. I for some reason I feel like this is going to go south, but yeah, fairly vanilla second game.
My spidey sense is telling me this is going north. I think anytime I see the plane path go anywhere near Oasis, through pretty much PCS2, we've been starting to see a lot more and more northern circles in that Cabrera kind of area. And I don't want to say that I want it, because I think that it's difficult to fight for, and I think that it really makes for a good showing. But when we have those very centralized circles like we did have for that very first game, I think that that's, I don't want to say a little bit too easy for teams, but there's a lot of opportunity for not a lot of action, and I think for teams to let down their guards, which could have, as you said, perhaps been the cause for Radiance to go out pretty quickly for that match. Now, that said, the circle should pop here in just about a second. We'll know where exactly it is going to go, and all right, south it is.
That's the thing, Clover, that you have to understand is I make these circles. You know what I mean? I place these bad boys. That would actually be that'd be really fun if the casters could choose circles for a day. The teams would absolutely hate us for forever. But
I mean, could you imagine if Primrose got to pick circles? What that would do?
She does though. So that's already
true.
A thing that happens.
I forgot to get my bribes in today to Primrose so that I could get those milli circles, those island circles. We might be able to. I'm not gonna say this isn't gonna go island. This is very centralized up on the mainland, Valley de Mar. But I think too, another thing to keep in mind with some of these things, and sometimes we always talk about with circles, is that it's the rotation and it's the teams that have to travel the farthest that are the ones that we're always keeping an eye out for that early game. And with the circle going this far south, Zenith is a team that has a lot of traveling to do. They're all the way up here at the very far north of the map on the eastern side, and that's going to take them at the very least through one or two squads, depending on how they time this.
Yeah, it's all based on timing and location, if they plan on doing a wide wrap to the east, going down that coast. If they want to go west, the plane was a little more positioned towards the west. Zenith is a team that I feel like will be comfortable rotating in a little late. They obviously have the firepower to fight on the edge. It's something they've done before to a pretty high success. So I think they'll be okay, but you're right. They are going to have to rotate far depending on when they decide to do that. I think it's probably to their benefit to just loot up as much as they can because they're going to be late anyways. I think the likelihood of them running into a team is going to be high. So whether they're going to be able to deal with that team, we'll see. Obviously, the last game that didn't work out, they came in on edge on the east late, and they got wiped. So we'll see if there's an adaptation there for this game.
And, we were just looking at the hard shifts as well. Hard shifts, game number 1, They looted on the East Coast at Puerto Paraiso. Now we're seeing them back in their home turf out in those compounds in and around Chumacera. And so with that, we kind of talked last game about how Sonics had it a little bit easy. They went Picado. Radiance and Hard Shifts weren't really too much in the way. And now with them being on the edge, we're going to see that rotation come up a bit early. But now you've got Radiance and Hard Shifts here. And I'm kind of curious. I'm curious to see the change and what we can expect from Sonics for the Grand Finals. Is I think that's been a big conversation for us, is who's the team that can go up against Shoot to Kill? Who's the team that really has the opportunity to take this here? Obviously, Veritas, came in second place for PCS1, and they're still very much a part of a conversation. But with the inclusion of Tiggleton on that Sonics roster, that's kind of been, I think, a very big question on everybody's mind, what they're going to be capable of. And I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that the Grand Finals is going to be where we'll finally see them flourish.
I mean, I think Sonics is capable of exactly what they were capable of with Profi, which was pretty much whatever they wanted as long as they put in the work, right? I think that's still with Tiggleton one of the best rosters technically on a mechanical level, but they just, I don't know, something is just off with them. Maybe it's too much aggression. Maybe it's some of their decision making. I don't actually know what the problem with Sonics is, and it's not that they have like a terrible issue. It's just they have not been as strong as we've seen in the past. Once Profi left and Tig came, and that's not even to say that Tiggleton is an issue or not as good as Profi or whatever. I'm just saying there's growing pains. They need to get past it. Hopefully, in the Grand Finals, they've already had a pretty decent start to the first game because of Tig. Let's see if they can continue that. This is also an area that I can tell you right now I'm not used to seeing in comp play or even being watched. This is a very Western compound that rarely sees anyone ever going to it, but there it is for your viewing pleasure. And Yaxley is going to be barely getting away. I like the little trap set by Radiance, but in a Murado on the road, that thing's going to cruise.
Yeah, and you've got the rest of Comets now starting to make their transition onto this. So as you said, Yaxley up ahead for that scouting, and Los already coming back down from the hill. So interesting play for them now. With this type of circle, oof, there you go.
Perfect timing.
Nice. Couple shots out, but no knocks just yet. Monty's going to be able to get through that. We still got two more members of Comets. I think I've learned the lesson here. We're going to go wide off the road finally. This Radiance. Oh, there you go. Off the distance, still trying to battle it out for D-Treats, and Victor driving in onto this. Oh, a little bit silly to start. I love it.
Yeah, I do like the rotation though coming out from Comets. I mean, this is interesting. Los is chasing down Yaxley and Victor.
I mean, I guess if you've got the support of your teammates, right, driving.
Yeah, I mean,
right
he's not
into
actually
McCoy
chasing them
Gaxi.
down. Yeah, but he's rotating past. But these two teams, watch. I would say watch for Radiance and Comets to get in a little bit of a scuffle with each other later on, depending if Radiance wants to stay or it looks like they're actually going to continue to go south towards Higos.
Mm-hmm. I mean, both teams are capable of so much. We talked a little bit last match about the teams that were strong on Miramar, and Radiance is one of those four teams that we've really been able to see put down quite a lot of points in the group stages. Comets, though, I've put a lot of points down for group stages in general, landing themselves in fourth place overall, Radiance in second place. So an interesting matchup between both the teams if we see them come back into combat early on. But now as we're watching the rest of these rotations come back out to the north, this is an area that I'm expecting to see a bit more play. You and I have often talked about when the circles hold on to these ridge lines on either side of the road, and how teams need to make a choice early on which side to play from, because if that circle takes a hard shift in any direction, what that could mean. Now, with so much of that western wall that we know is unplayable out to the west, would you take a chance at all on some of these places that we've seen ATC, and some of the other teams out to the west take? I think Fabled, Dodge, Carnage are also all up on this shelf. Or would you rather sit in the center?
It's tough with a circle like this just because, the edge varies so much, specifically because of specifically the western edge, which is kind of what you're talking about, right? Because so much of it is out of play. It's hard to gauge where you should be, whether you should be more central or not. When we talk about a team like ATC taking those compounds, ATC kind of just does whatever they want to do. So I don't really know what goes on in the thought process of that team, but I love watching them play because they really mix it up. As we now settle with Shoot to Kill, looks like they're going to be taking shots at Sonics, but Sonics has a nice little pinch here, potentially to take care of SDK if they're not too careful.
Yeah, I mean, Sonics, right, with a nice 2-2 split. You've got Tiggleton and Shrimsy sharing one compound mime and Win in the other, but down to the south from them as well, out in Chumasera, is Oath. So Sonics all taking a couple shots onto Shoot to Kill do need to be a little bit careful in case Balefrost or Snakers choose to extend onto this. But Shoot to Kill will pull back away, find some safety in this compound. This is a good position for them to hold through right now as we see avoid some of the damage. However, the zone is closing, and it's a hard shift up to the north. Wow. So very interesting circle number 2 already.
Yeah, that was, I'll be honest, that wasn't a shift I was expecting, at least on Circle 2, but this is going to force a lot of teams back north, and Shoot to Kill is in a prime position, actually, to take a nice spot up here to the north, whether it's on Crossroads or if it's going to be more towards Monty, but this is a nice compound for them to take. There's really not going to be anyone up here since everyone kind of started rotating more so to the south, or at least hedged their bets there, and so SDK has a fantastic rotation point from this compound, if they need to.
And Fabled still holding on to a bit of the high ground. It looks like the hilltop that we kind of talked about just a moment ago is still inside the zone for phase number 2, but I think you and I both know the likelihood of this staying in much longer is going to be a little bit slim. So a lot of opportunities for them to work with. We can see Dodge just below them, as well as Veritas. Shots from Haxetti out. Oh, he is going to get the knock onto Sharpshot. There you go, Haxetti. Getting one, but there's nobody else right now into that compound. Jazza making a run for it. Shots back out. Looks like Jazza is going to get there safely to try and pick up that res. But, I mean, there you go. Haxetti has just been such a key player here on Fabled.
Yeah, Haxetti has been huge. I think that's literally one of the best pickups they could have asked for. But Lampalot immediately going to get a knock here on Rip as he's alone fighting this team before.
I mean, look, a really great play right now coming out from Duel is going to finish the crash onto this compound. Haxetti rotating wide, looking for an angle here. Gets some damage, can't find the knock, just gets it there. Lampalot falls back down, but we see Danny G now has shots on Haxetti as well. Hella also flushed, so Greg Shot and Haxetti, last two still standing up for Fabled, as nades coming out now from Danny G.
These are some good zone grenades to kind of keep Haxetti at bay, and I really love Duel, pushing the initiative here. This is a team that has definitely struggled in the past, and I really like to see them kind of take control of their own fate, and they're just going for it. This is exactly what you want to see. Nice knock from Cherry.
I mean, Haxetti tried his best there, but ultimately was fallen down there. All that's left is Greg Shot. We can see Cherry off at distance is going to spot him out, but Wooly in the end with a headshot. Fabled goes out very early, 16th. After getting victory there on match number 1, Duel's going to have plenty of time to recover, though, and stay.
And you know what?
For this,
a 1 for 4 is a good trade in my book any day, to be completely honest. And Duel really came out fighting there. Lamp went down, but he put himself in a position where he was able to get the first knock and really do a good amount of damage and surprise Fabled, which is why Duel was able to come in behind and kind of clean that up. So it also seems like that was really clean between Danny and Cherry really playing off each other, and that's kind of what I feel like we've been missing from Duel, is that nice synergy. So good start for them. Love that fight. Keep it up, guys.
Yeah, Duel, of course, was really Duel and Fabled, right? They were our two bottom teams coming into this. Fabled was ranked at 16th, Duel ranked at 15th with 156 and 134 each, respectively, for the points that they're able to pull up in the group stage. That said, though, I mean, a lot of work that needed to be done in that downtime, and obviously, as you said, a synergy is starting to come out from Duel, who seem to be struggling quite a bit, not only in PCS1 but again in PCS2.
What are these shifts? Sorry.
I'm digging it. No, look at this, and this is going to be very helpful to Zenith, Sonics, and Liberate. As Liberate right now sitting pretty out, and Chumisera.
Oh yeah,
that means that Radiance is going to have to work on their rotation transition now back into the zone. And you know what? I'm digging it. I'm digging these crazy circles. I know maybe that's because I'm a caster and we really like the stuff that's toxic.
Again, for us, it's just watching these teams adapt to those bad situations. Like, as a player, it's, having to rotate across because of a hard shift, it's never fun. It's never something you enjoy doing. But watching a team navigate that, fight through a few teams, make it work, I mean, that's why I personally like, those kind of sadistic circles where they're just not great to play, because they really do force out some incredible PUBG from some of these guys and some of these teams. So this is kind of one of those circles. It's a hard shift, and a lot of these guys who had set up, more towards the west or the northwest are now going to have to position themselves to rotate to the east.
And, you know, rotating to the really any spot for safety right now is see Illusion quick to take this compound here on the minimap. You can see ATC and Shoot to Kill not too far behind, but it's this fight that's been going on between 303 and Veritas. It's going to be interesting indeed. Just inside the center of the zone here, both Keenan and Pentalol still knocked for Veritas. Opportunity for redemption and revives here if they can take out Honey Badger. As 303 has lost one in this 2-2 split. Landoon and D-Rich up the hill trying to do additional damage onto Veritas here. So if Jazza can take out Honey Badger, might be an opportunity here. But nope, Honey Badger is going to say nope to Sharp Shot as that flush comes back out.
If 303 was indeed split here down on this lower compound, this is not a common split because although you have cover to give from the position that D-Rich and Landoon are in, it's just not that beneficial to hold this compound as well as hold the hilltop. You're better off just holding the hilltop, which is one of the best positions on the map, especially when the circle is on it. So, interesting
speaking
split.
of hilltop, ATC right now is starting to pull up onto the hilltop just above Veritas's compound. We can see on the mini-map, Marcelic, Aguila, all setting up here. And so might be an ability to help out Veritas shots onto 303, or it could spell the end of Veritas's demise as Jazza has been bit up. Looks like they might not be able to get to Pentalol in time. Will bleed out. So still 2 players up for Veritas onto this.
Pick up
now
that
we can see this is kind of a little bit of a trapped situation for all of them now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why this compound isn't really one that you normally split in because, you know, this can happen. It's just not the greatest position. I understand maybe while Veritas is here, if they had to crash here, or it's kind of a last resort. But 303 looked comfortable on that hill. So, again, just an interesting kind of choice there. I'm not exactly sure why we found 2 members of 303 in that bowl, but we did.
All right, and the next circle shift is coming, and once again, a very, very hard shift, this time away from Chumacera out towards the west. And most of our teams that we've been following along already, you can see here on the right-hand side as we go back to full screen, still inside the zone, and they'll have plenty of time to finish up this fight. And now it's all the teams to the south that need to transition their way back into the zone as Duel trying their hardest, but ultimately fall in the end. Cherry falling to Maluk as Duel going out in 15th place.
You know, they still had 4 kills, though, so they got a decent amount of points. Again, anything, especially in the beginning of a series like this, all the points you can accumulate as little or as much as many as they are is incredibly important to the start of the series. I feel like that was a very roundabout way of saying things, but yeah, that's great. The fact that they even got those 4 points. And here comes Comets now rotating just past Hardships, and Hardships is going to start to kind of position themselves to receive this because they're not in a great position, especially with Comets in that compound.
Yeah, I mean, Hardshift's trying to create as much hard cover as they can. As we see, the vehicles are out. Tires, though, are being blown from Comets who still need to work their way into the zone. Yep. D-Treats and Yaxley trying to find an angle that's going to get them safely as we see them continue to rotate in those vehicles. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the map, Dodge is going to fall there. Finna eliminated actually from Sonics out at range. You can see Purdy Curdy has been knocked, unfortunately. It looks like a lot of teams picked the wrong place to rotate back in. There's so many teams right now that are right on top of each other. As Los HD, McCoy shots right now out onto Zenith.
Oh, the jump!
Get some nice
that was
hits,
very
but
dangerous.
no knocks just yet. Los. It's a lot of damage, though.
Yeah, and the way that they're approaching this is correct. They know it's probably a duo now in front of them, so is Radiance going to get aggressive here? I mean, this might be their only chance to really do so without the support of the other 2 players, but it's also not the greatest push. It's kind of an awkward situation, but here comes Waldini coming onto the backside of this concrete as well as McCoy. So now they have a nice duo to fight this as Zenith finds themselves in a little bit of trouble now if they can't clean this up, especially getting an early knock.
The biggest threat, of course, for Radiance is the fact that Snakers is still wide, taking shots on this from Oath, as Radiance will send 2, as you said, out onto the God compounds, looking to take this away from Zenith and find some safety into the zone on the edge. As you can see in the minimap, just how many teams are in the area. Mystery, though, still upstairs as Kickstart waiting for them around the corner. So it's going to be really reliant on taking 1 or 2 members out on Zenith here, take out this 2-2 split. Both Leda and Roth are dealing with the rest of Oath right up ahead, and Waldo being very, very patient here.
This was just a really well executed time to kind of make this happen. They are running out of time because the circle is starting to push in, but I feel like Radiance did recognize that the other duo was getting pressured not only by them but by Oath, and so they chose the right time to come in, but they can't get the knock. McCoy's going to go down. Waldo going for the trade. He's not going to get it, and now Radiance is starting to have their back against the wall.
Waldo, as we see right now, is kind of dancing around McCoy's body as Kickstart looking for another angle on the rest of Radiance as the team pushing in, trying to stay alive. But, oh, beautiful angle there. Will get the knock onto Waldo. So waiting for the push from the rest of the team. This is still the edge of zone, and we're in phase 4, so rest of Radiance needs to make a play and push themselves right into Kickstart.
Nice.
Kickstart finds another one. Los goes down. All that's left is one more member here of Radiance. Can they find him out here? It's Gaxi working his way into the zone. Meanwhile, the circle has taken another hard shift away from this.
He waited too long. Yeah, he thought he heard something. He waited too long, and that first aid's not going to stick. So he's going to go down after a beautiful play, taking down 2. And Oath has been an absolute thorn in Zenith's side as they took down not only one of the members up top that was helping Kickstart hold that, but now they're going to wipe them out completely.
Yeah, with, taking out Leda, I think the biggest thing for Oath right now is, did they read the kill feed well enough to know that Gaxi is still up? We see Balefrost watching the angle onto this. And so it's going to be a bit of a tricky situation. Oath had been taking shots at both teams here. Meanwhile, as we see the rest of them, Balefrost actually is going to go wide along with Snakers. Try and get one more look at this compound to spot out what's left of Radiance. He will find him. Gaxi goes back out. And Radiance going out in 12th place. So the circle, though, as we saw, has shifted. And so now Liberate has been waiting on the backhand side of this. So Oath charging right into this, as we can already see shots coming back out.
Yep, and Oath, they've done a lot of work, but with the shift, as you said, these guys are going to have to work even more on that edge there on the east, and Liberate in a pretty decent position to receive that. It's just, Oath is going to have to frag out if they really want to get out of that. They do potentially have the option to kind of wrap a little more to the east, but regardless, they're either going to have to fight through Sonics or they're going to have to fight through Liberate. It looks like they've chosen to fight through Liberate.
And, ooh, nice nade there by Simply Mad as Snakers is going to go down. Balefrost Relo looking for another angle onto this as their own utility comes back out in retaliation. Smokes out looking for a res here, but that Molotov by Matt is going to go just too far down the hill. Relo, meanwhile, getting hit by Guabi as he came up from the hill. J-Sank, however, is going to get at it. It looks like Hardshift's trying to come into the backside of this fight.
Yeah, Adit was so far removed from his team. I'm not sure if he was stuck there or he's using it as a vantage point to get some information. But look at this. Ice Tech just burning through 2 members of Oath. And now Pat's going to have to run. He's the last one.
Pat actually is going to take a chance, try to take some more shots onto Liberate here, but found out in the end by Ice Tech as the barrel comes out and Liberate once again with a squad wipe. But immediately they have no time to drop their guard. They've got to deal with the hardships. Meanwhile, 303 once again finding themselves into conflict, this time with Comets. You see the Molotovs are out. Yaxley trying to survive this just a bit, and 303 is going to send one out the window. It's Landoon, but he's spotted by D-Treats, knocked and flushed out. And Honey Badger, D-Rich.
I really
in 2 very different places.
Yeah, I really like watching these 2 teams fight because these are the 2 teams that were most improved over, the kind of the group stages in PCS2. And Comets, first game not necessarily going their way, but the way that they've been working the West here, the West Edge, has been quite impressive. They've picked up 2 kills. They've now, really forced themselves on the 303's position. They now have the compound, but they have still far to go. I mean, these guys have been working in from the West for a while now, cautiously moving in. We saw them rotate earlier in front of Hardships, and I like the way they've been playing so far, but this is still a rough bit of terrain for them to traverse.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Comet's only hope to get into the zone safely is to really go right to where we see D-Rich off into the distance. That's on the edge of zone. Honey Badger, the other member of 303, still alive, still out to the south, trapped actually by Jazza and Veritas. Meanwhile, Liberate managed to rotate back around, find a compound into safety, put some distance between themselves and Hardships, who now need to figure out how they're going to get themselves into the circle. We've got 10 teams up, 30 players still alive. And you can see on the minimap as well, Sonics in a nice position inside the circles. They're actually going to find a knock on shoot to kill.
Oh, Sonics has been knocking and just putting so much damage on the field from their position. And they've been there for a while, man. This is kind of like, I feel like a break for them because Sonics usually chases a circle. I think PUBG has finally been generous enough to give them one. And they've definitely not squandered that opportunity, let me tell you, as Icy Flex goes down.
Ooh, there you go. Sonics right now with 4 kills and a knock to their name. You see shoot to kill, trying their best to recover as Illusion rotating in just to the other side of this ridge line. I think the biggest thing that's going to help out Illusion right now is the fact that Sonics still have sight onto Alo and Civ. That said, when we take a look from their angle, Illusion has to worry as well about all the other teams that still have angle on this, and that's Comets, the teams down to the south, and Sif with a nade. Beautiful. We'll get that knock on to Adam. Shoot to kill.
Man,
That's exactly
that landed
where Illusion is.
in Adam's mouth. I mean, that pretty much exploded right in his face. That was a disgustingly well-placed nade coming out from Civ. A little payback to an old teammate, maybe? I don't know.
Ooh. And there you go. I mean, back again to the south, right? This is what we knew was going to be a bit of a tricky situation. Honey Badger is already out to the zone. Jazza leaving just a bit late. Meanwhile, ATC fighting out for hardships, that it's actually going to be Yaxley that gets that last kill onto Jazza. Meanwhile, look at this ATC nade back here, this time on the hardships. J-Sake and Chubba go back out. Loeb's the last one still standing. And Utility is out in force right now.
Wow. That was synchronized grenading from Marslick and Norcus. That was, dude, the grenade from Civ and then those two grenades that just came out of ATC were direct hits. I mean, man, those were so well placed.
We see ATC still with 3 up. The res has not come out onto Aguila just yet, being very mindful of the push from Comets. All of these teams, though, as we can see here, need to move north once again. Another hard shift from the circle comes back out, and this time Liberate as well is going to have to vacate their compound.
Yeah.
We have the opportunity to come back and pinch this.
This is rough for everyone that's
still out. Oh. I think the biggest break here is for Illusion and Shoot to Kill, who've been pinned down from Sonics for quite some time. This time, the circle is, in fact, going to give them a little bit of a bone with this. But that said, we can see up in the high ground, all of those teams continuing to fight as they're going to have to come back down from this hill.
The biggest thing for those teams on the south, in, you know, Illusion and STK, is if they can capitalize on all these teams coming in from... those teams in the north to capitalize on these teams coming in from the south. Because these guys might cause problems for Sonics, which will give the teams in the north the opportunity to kind of push forward.
Loeb's doing a number on to Liberate, but took a lot of damage from that as well. And Marcelic is going to get an easy flush out of this as Hardshift's eliminated into 8th place. ATC will win out the high ground, and as they migrate their way into the zone, still need to be mindful of Ice Tech, who's left behind from Liberate. Meanwhile, Comets trying to battle this out from Carnage at range. We're actually going to get taken down by ATC. Norcus getting Yaxley and D-Treats onto this, as well as some of the Sonics. It looks like everybody's got an angle onto this fight.
And this is rough still, though, because the teams in the north can't really move. Sonics has just been such a nuisance.
Ooh, he's on fire! Oh, Monty is going to take that out. Stray God put out of his misery, and Carnage Gaming eliminated into 6th place. You know, a Molly and a smoke. I get it. It'd be easy mistake there.
I think he was just running out, just begging, like, shoot me, please. I'm suffering. Just looking for anyone in that smoke while he's on fire. But Comet's staying alive, you know, decent amount of kills as well and points. So anything that Monty can do at this point is going to be a huge plus for them. As ATC's 3 kills on Norcus, 3 on Marsalek, you know, we saw that great grenade combo coming out for them, but they're still in a rough position because once this edge goes out, I mean, Sonics at this point is starting, you see Shrimsy starting to kind of coast out and move out of the compound to really get the angles, and this is exactly what Hypoc was talking about when he was talking about Veritas the last game, and I can't agree more, is that point of, you know, kind of moving out early when you don't necessarily need to really start to force your map control.
And we're seeing that come out right now from Sonics as we take a look at the map as well. Mime anchored down behind as Tiggleton, Shrimsy, and Win send it just a bit early to try to take out ATC and regain control of the south. Meanwhile, the circle did shift. Illusion is going to have to work their way in the zone. Shoot to Kill just barely in. Monty's Shack still in as well. And there you have Shrimsy and Tiggleton looking for that angle onto ATC. But this is going to take them right into Shoot to Kill.
Yeah, who's been there for so long, and here comes beautiful grenades. Utility has been on point for everyone using it in this this game, from all 64 players it seems like. But SDK is going to go down. There's really nothing they can do about that sandwiched, and they're going to go out in 5th.
I mean, nades and Shoot to Kill, but this time that's how they die. Is there any better combo? But the best combo that right now we're seeing from Sonics, as we can still see 4 players up. They are going to lose Tiggleton in this transition, but they are going to take out a couple players for ATC. Melon falls as well. 7 kills right now to Sonic's name. And they do have a little bit of safety and protection from Illusion for their current place standing. So with 4 teams still up, Top Dog falls down here for Illusion. Adam caught out on the edge of zone, trying to stay alive, but they're still not in here. This is the end of Phase 8. They're not going to get much of a reprieve here, so they need to move very quickly and start taking out other members. They're taking shots onto this. Monty, I think, has got the angle, but so does Sonic's Mime. Shots right there into Adam
They're
again.
still not in. I still don't think they're in. This is such a rough position for the last 2 members of Illusion here, as Adam is so low, and all the teams are just looking
11
at
11 HP.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have much. He is, he does have a boost going, but they don't really have much to play. Nox going to come out. It's actually going to be Monty. And now Freebie Please, the only one that stands for Illusion, as Sonics is just wrapping back and forth, taking as much control as they possibly can, and I love to see this from them.
I mean, we're here into phase number 9. So see the very tiny dot in the center of the minimap. That is where the circle is going to close. And so Sonics regain control on the map right now, looking for more damage onto ACC. Utility is out. Free Me Please was found by Shrimps. These are our last 2 teams, I think, still up. No, Monty, excuse me, was not found just yet. There we go. 10 kills for Sonics. I think our observer was just a little bit further behind. Norcus last up. Any trolls eliminated? No, Monty has been up this entire time, you guys. I was wrong. And Comets now with 1 still standing. Look at this. Great play. And I think this is finally
7
the time
kills,
for
second.
Sonics. This is going to be hard for Monty.
Whatever happens here for Monty, he's already done his job, and he's done it very well. Comets are going to be happy. He's going to run out, deny the points. I love it. In that situation, again, with your back against the blue, there's just no way I think he would have even seen a kill. A knock, maybe. There's no way he would have been able to clean it up. Denies the point. Well played to Monty. Comets is going to come out, but Sonics comes out on top with a beautiful hold on that compound. This is one of those situations where we talk about where a team is kind of, gifted circle. They get a good position and they don't use it. That's exactly what Sonics did do. They used that position. They were given that opportunity. They farmed the kills. They did so much damage out there on the field, and they took home that win. They earned that win 100%. And that's the Sonics that I've been waiting to see. There really wasn't
a member on the Sonics that didn't contribute very well to that win. Tiggleton with 4, Shrimsy with 3, H1 and Mime with 2 kills each, and really kept the whole team up until the late game. Unfortunately, losing Tiggleton there right at the end. But that said, I think what we've talked about in the past is this kind of confusion. Is maybe they're working, they're great, they're always at the top of the leaderboard, but something didn't quite seem right. That synergy definitely has come into play, as you've talked about a couple times this evening. And I think we're finally seeing the Sonics that we've been looking for all along here during PCS2, as we kind of round out match number 2.
Yeah, I think it was honestly just the adjustments, having Tig come back in to compete, getting used to that kind of play style again, and then obviously getting used to new teammates. It was going to take time, as anything like that in a roster shuffle does, especially when you lose such an integral player like Profi was. But yeah, I have faith in this team. Obviously, they're very capable of winning. And they did so in style. They really took control of that map. They came out of the compound early, and they killed it. So well done, Sonics. That's definitely the team that I was looking for. So
awesome. Well, guys, we are done casting for this match. We're going to toss it back to the analyst desk and see what they had to say. And then we'll be back again, of course, with match number 3. So until we get to that point, guys, take it away.
Welcome back, guys. Glad to have you back. Let's jump off with the good stuff. D07U2K9Q53P5. We'll pop it up here on your screen here in just a second. That is the code to get your coupon. Get in game. Go to the add bonus / gift code section of the Pick'em Challenge event tab. Codes are very limited, so act fast, and I will give you the heads up. You can only redeem 1 free voting coupon per PUBG account. So if you've already won it and you start screaming about why you haven't won it again, well, that's your own fault. D07U2K9Q53P5. All right, now that I'm done talking like a robot, let's talk about the match. Sonics take home the win. I tweeted earlier today that this is a roster that should be winning events. I don't know why they aren't, and I'm not sure if they know either. Hypoc, I think they might have figured it out.
I mean, they've made a fool of me a couple of times over the last few months, but I've been waiting for them to turn a corner. Obviously, I mean, Godspeed, couldn't have said it better myself. Losing an integral player like Profi, got to be a blow to the team, but somebody like Tingleton to fill those shoes, it was definitely big expectations up front, and they haven't delivered. I said earlier today they were the best performing Miramar team overall over everything we've had, Charity Showdown, PCS1, etc. But, I mean, in that game, they're demonstrating what they're capable of, I feel.
If you're going to lose a W, man, Tingleton's not a bad replacement. Let's pull the highlights up, matchup, and have you guys break down this match for us.
Oh, Toffees, you were talking about the fact that can Sonics get it together and tweeting about them earlier. Seems like you should have picked them over Radiance. Just saying. Just saying. A couple of issues come up from them in the early games as we had a couple of little awkward standoffs based off of positioning. Now you can see Fabled, who had themselves a great last round, trying to hold down the angle. I like what they're trying to accomplish. Still trying to hold up the momentum, but it just did not work out in this round for them.
No, it didn't. There was a really long, drawn-out fight between Veritas and 303 there, which is a shame as well. I know Penta's already gone straight onto Twitter to vent his frustrations, but this was an interesting game. Again, came down to like a really kind of pivotal hill position. Obviously, Sonic's kind of... I mean, I think being the most proactive out there, H-Win playing anchor while Sonic pushed down to clear SDK is a fantastic move and showed the confidence we haven't really seen out of them for the last few match days. And the important thing was they reset well, and then they cleaned up ATC straight after. They set out a list of tasks in front of them, and they methodically moved through each one by one.
I'm so glad you hit that, Hypoc. There were two big moments inside of that. Whenever we have Monty being aware of what's going on next to him, picking up a kill, really stopping a push that opened up the door for Sonics and getting him second place. While he did steal it, I love the fact that he also thought to deny to steal a couple of points, or at least one more point away from another team. Additionally, H-Win moving south to contest against ATC shows a lot from Sonics. No longer a pack mentality. It shows the fact that they had knowledge on what was happening inside the circle and knew how to use their resources. That is a smart play coming up from Sonics, and that is exactly what we should be expecting from this team.
I mean, from the get-go, I think that that's a team when they put it together, even the previous conception with Profi, that all of us said, hey, these guys... You know, I went, oh, look, it's Miami. They're trying to buy a championship team, and it just never panned out. Maybe it's finally starting to sink in. We'll take a look at the match leaderboards. The results from that one, 21 points is a pretty good statement in game number 2, considering game number 1, Hypoc, they were in the top 3.
Yeah, it was. And off the back of a really, really solid performance from Tingleton in game 1, that's a nice follow-up, to be honest with you. But again, the other one that I've got to talk about, I know you guys are going to hate me, but we talked about a possible feast or famine team in game 1, and look at Fabled this time around.
Yeah?
Yeah, it do be like that sometimes. But
it do be like that.
I do have my eyes back over towards comments right now. While it hasn't been the flashiest of performances, and it's been a little bit of damage control here and there, they are getting some form of consistency that's starting to pop off, and that's going to be very pivotal, especially whenever we look at the way that this is set up, where we have one map all day, 2 days, and then we come back the week and another week after that. Doing research and repositioning in these circles are how you're going to be able to get kills in these situations.
Guys, I got to step in, though, because it's not often I get to say this. Kills top 5, first place. Ice Tech, number 1 with 4 kills, tied with Tingleton. Ice Tech is, I played with him a long time ago and have watched him grow as a player, and to see him here is, like, super exciting. I mean, Liberate's an interesting team for me. Unrealized upside. Guabi and Ice Tech went from sort of not really well known to more than averaging 1 kill per game in the last round in the qualifiers. It seems like they might be one of those teams that has a future upside. Let's take a look at the damage, though. Hypoc?
Yeah, I mean, no surprises there. Tingleton putting in more work in game 2 here, and nice to see H-Win turn the corner as well. I know he's not been too happy. He's had an absolute stinker the last few match days we've seen Sonics, but again, you know, 303, we talk about him time and time again. D-Rich making it into the top 5. No surprises with the form he's been performing in.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but ATC popping off with kills as well as being on the damage chart is big for them. And I gotta say it, Toffees, I'm gonna steal one of your puns from you. I was really questioning H-Win. Are we gonna actually start seeing something come out of him? And we're finally starting to get a little bit more aggression coming in. And he's starting to be a linchpin for the Sonics. I still feel like his reposition was huge for them and gets them that number 1 spot on the leaderboard.
I would say that game 2 was a big win for them as they managed to move to the top of the leaderboards.
Your turn,
yes, as they get there. Now talk about the rest of the leaderboards and try to get a win pun in.
Well, while we look at the rest of the leaderboard, actually, I've completely lost my own train of thought there. No, it's been an interesting start. I mean, 2 fantastic games from Sonics, and I'm hoping they can keep up this momentum. I'm obviously the biggest Sonics fanboy. There aren't many of us. It's few and far between, but I'm hoping they can actually, like I said, the allowance time has gone for me. Now is I want to see that roster start delivering.
Also, worth noting, we saw the Houston Hardshifts in 3rd place, 4th and 5th in the overall kills. This is another team that, again, I think some of us have been fans of for a while. I know Godspeed in particular has been waiting for them to come on, really light up, and they're doing it. They're in 3rd place, and they're 4th and 5th right now in kills, Matcham.
I gotta say, Tiggleton, though, 9 kills.
Yeah,
this is what we want from you, Tiggleton. But notice there's a lot of teams that are favorites that haven't been showing up inside these top 5s.
Yeah.
And that's because they just seem to keep bumping into each other at very awkward times. Uncivil popping off inside of here, but 303 as well showing up inside of Damage. Honey Badger has been a big factor for his team, but yet again, Houston Hardshifts, 2 members, Tiggleton rounding out our top 3. That is big for both of those teams.
Big stuff.
Absolutely. I want to see the Tigglegasm spam in chat. Seeing him, the only one over 1,000 damage so far. And this is somebody in particular on this Sonics roster. We've wanted to see him step up into the form we know he's capable of.
And big shout out also. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, look at J-Sync, almost at 1,000 points.
Yeah.
This is a guy that has grown up with PUBG as far as going through the NPL, now that we're over the PCS. It is great to see that the system that really works in here. If you come up and you can prove that you can play on the pro level by going through those online events, you can step in and play in this level. And J-Sync is a prime example of that, and I'm so happy every single time I see him perform.
Well, I'd also say that Lobes, they make a 1-2 punch hard shifts of sort of developing players that have really turned on, and you got to respect that. I also want to give a shout out to Uncivil, 4th, the only player from SDK to make the chart so far. Some might call him the worst fragger, the worst fragger from SDK. But the reality is, even if he statistically was the worst kill count on SDK, he was still the 9th highest kill count overall during the group stages. That's how ridiculously good SDK is. But Hypoc, why aren't they winning right now? Give me your condensed version of what's going on.
I mean, for me, they've both games there. They got themselves to kind of an aggressive circle 3 position, and they just didn't find the action they were looking for. And it's frustrating, really, when you gamble everything on a rotation like that and it doesn't pay off in kill points. I'm hoping it's something they could turn around. Maybe just a couple of miscommunications and misplays in the early game.
I want to squeeze in real quick, but I think the fact that we're also seeing teams that are trying to exploit. Every time we see them get into a fight, 3 or 4 teams try to take shots at them. Go ahead.
They're getting swarmed.
That 16 is brutal, but it's time for us to go to the 3rd match of the day as we head to Miramar with PUBG's own Sand Snakes. Let's see if they've got the venom on the cast. It's Clover and Godspeed.
Ooh, I like this. We're sand snakes now. We get to wear this really cool leather bikinis, like a Badlands kind of costume.
Gross. Ugh.
Of course, in this heat. That's why.
No.
I mean, I think a couple of us joked about not wanting to wear jackets because of how warm it was. But you and I are in cast, so we get a little bit of a casual wear tonight. I'm digging it. But
Clover, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Nobody wants to see me in leather. Nobody in the history of man.
That's
has
such a
ever
chat.
asked.
Let us know. Do you want to see Godspeed in leather?
Not necessary. No. No one
those
wants
really
that.
cool, the tiger jacket that we started to see kind of make its way here through season 8.
Definitely not. Moving into the 3rd game. Shift gears.
It's sorry, and as you said, we're going into the 3rd match, so we'll shift gears right back into game. We've had pretty much now the halfway point for day number 1 here on Miramar. Of course, now teams will be on Erangel tomorrow. But the fact that, as you know, Hypoc said earlier today, we're locked into one map today, and so the whole mindset going in today for all these teams is Miramar.
Yeah. Overall, really love watching Sonics finally, get that big win. They obviously, Tingleton saved them in the last game. They've been fighting really well. I definitely am not rooting for them because they're the team that I picked to win PCS2. That has nothing to do with my decision at all. But I really feel like once they get that synergy down with Tig, that team is going to come back and start fighting just as hard as they did, before. As far as this playing path, I mean, it's fairly skewed for the teams that are trying to hit the East Coast, but some wide rotations to the south as we see potentially dual doing, as well as Comets to get up there towards, Al-Zahar, whatever these teams want to do, it's going to be fine. Nothing too crazy. Again, we haven't seen anything crazy as far as playing paths so far, Clover.
Yeah, and I mean, really the only big change up right now is at Zenith taking their alternative drop spot down at the very south. It puts them kind of close to Fabled. Rip right now kind of squished themselves between Lada and Mystery, but as you said, nothing too terribly crazy. It's going to be wherever that first circle pops that we're going to have an idea on how this is going to play. Now, the very first game was a pretty mild vanilla circle, as we put it. Game number 2 was full of a lot of hard shifts, and so it's these third and fourth matches that could do quite a bit to benefit some of these teams.
Wow,
as you see, we are going to the east. All right.
Yeah, so not only did this plane path cut off, quite a bit of the east, but now the circle has decided to not only shift to the east, but so far that it's actually have, the coast and the water in. So this is going to be interesting to watch this giant clump of teams, who have settled on the west because of alternate, drop paths or what have you due to the plane, have to rotate in altogether. I think the west coast may potentially become a bloodbath. I would definitely tell everyone to watch for teams rotating wide north, going for that kind of long rotation north, or even if you taking south, because west is it's congested.
Yeah, I mean, even when we look on the inside of the zone, Veritas here is, as well as ATC out in San Martin. We've got Shoot to Kill with the nice split out here but Purdy Curdy and Luke kind of up near Hacienda, and then of course Sonic's in Picado. So all of the teams that are out to the west are going to have to be ones that will need to work their way in, and it's about half the lobby right now is actually outside of the zone and needs to start working their way in. And the only people that really I think have an easy rotation that shouldn't have to worry about all is going to be Illusion. They're up north, they're in Cabrera, they're going to have an easy rotation with no one up ahead of them. And Illusion, I feel like we haven't really gotten to talk about them as much as I would like, but Illusion's been in the late game so far for both matches 1 and 2. And when, look at the group stages and the stats for the teams that have done the best on Miramar, Illusion is constantly up there in all of those stats. They find themselves up in the late game. They're doing damage. They're getting kills. And I think that this is the map that they're the most comfortable for. And so the teams like 303 and Dodge that don't necessarily have a match where I think that they're strongest at, to kind of have a day like today where I don't want to say you struggled a bit. 303's only put down 6 points so far, but I think that they've kind of struggled in their rotations, right? And so now you're looking at all these teams that once again are going to have a really difficult rotation in phase number 1, and you kind of wonder, when are some of these guys going to get a little bit of a break?
Well, to be fair, we've seen 303 kind of do their best work on the edge. So as long as they kind of employ that, which I imagine they will, especially in this circle, of playing an edge to their advantage, especially if it comes to being aggressive, I think they'll be fine. Illusion, I mean, as you said, these guys have come in so far towards the end of both games. We know how hungry these guys are, especially with the leadership of Adam kind of coming into play. And I feel like they'll pick it up. They haven't had, again, a bad start by any means. They have 15 points in 4th place, but I still think like there's more that this team can kind of squeeze out of these games, and I'm sure they'll get there once they feel a little more comfortable. But they have a great start. 303, the team that you mentioned afterwards, again, I feel like if they can really kind of set their sights on which zone they want to play and which edge, I think they're going to be just fine as far as kind of cleaning that up, because that is their play style. That's what they like to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and two, I mean, I think as you even said earlier before we went into the last match, Radiance, right? Another team that unfortunately went out pretty early. Yet again, they only have 2 kills so far after 2 matches. Not at all what we were expecting from them.
No, but to be fair, I really thought that roster would actually have a much more explosive start than a slow start. But I also know, from experience with playing with half that roster, that the mindset reset is very real, and that's something that Los and Waldo can do, and I'm sure that McCoy and Gaxi can do that as well, and I'm pretty sure they'll make a comeback and get a good amount of points pretty soon here. If not today, then I can guarantee you they're not going to go quietly tomorrow. So I'm not worried about Radiance. I'm kind of surprised that they've had 2 bad starts, but hell, I mean, the Rumblers also had bad start games, and we did just fine after that, so I think they'll be okay.
Is there any team that you think that you are worried about so far as we're halfway into day number 1?
It's so early to tell, and it's so easy to pick some bottom teams, right? But I just don't think Zenith should be there, to be completely honest. I don't know. I just feel like the way they've come in the last couple of games, their decision making on the rotations have been a little rushed, and because of that, they've struggled and they got wiped really, really heavily by Liberate in the first game. So I don't know. I'm just not worried about anyone. It's just the start. Everyone is feeling each other out. Nothing is really that set in stone yet. So I think all these teams are fine.
And I think, too, when we look historically in the past, day number 1, while it can give us a general idea of how well players are going to be performing, it's by no means, as you said, really a lock of what to expect. And oftentimes, it shake off the day 1 jitters, especially since we're only playing one map today. It's not Erangel and Miramar today. It's only Miramar. And so I think after this weekend, we might be able to have a better idea and say, okay, well, now we're 1 weekend down. We've still got a couple more days and games left to go. Where's it going to go from here? But that said, the mentality shifts itself a little bit too when we go into those grand finals as opposed to the group stages. And that's where we've seen some teams really flourish and some teams not do so well. I mean, Radiance during PCS1 only placed 9th overall in group stages. And so I think that was one of the reasons why we got really excited about the growth that we saw from them here in PCS2 is kind of, as Toffees and others have said, it was like seeing the McCoy of old. And really them coming back into their own. And so there's so much potential from a lot of these rosters, as you even said, Zenith included, but unfortunately the rotations just keep catching them out. And already you could see they've lost kickstart when they rotated into Fabled a little bit earlier.
Yeah, we'll see. I think what you said as far as, after the first weekend, then we can start to maybe worry about some of these teams, but it's just way too early at this point. And Roth is going to get a nice little rotation here. In fact, they're getting all the way down here to Impala. This is a very uncontested area. No one's here yet, and they can definitely set up for a nice play here, specifically because of where the circle is.
I mean, and oftentimes, too, I think when we see these circles, there's a handful of opportunities and places that we can kind of attribute to where it will go. Typically, it's all of the rocky terrain out to the east of Minas Generalis, which is why we're seeing a lot of teams right now start to set up shop here in the centralized part. ATC coming in from the north, though they need to be a little bit careful. Illusion's kind of in this area. And we can kind of even see off in the kill feed, Veritas and Shoot to Kill have been going at it outside of Junkyard. And so there's already, with that kind of fight for the center part of the ground, with the flight path being so far to the west, a lot of teams trying to get themselves so far to the east and retake control of what's central to this part of the zone. That said, now back onto the fight here for Veritas and Shoot to Kill. See Jazza already with 1 up onto their name.
They should not be. They should be pressing this. I mean, they have a kill already. That's already 1 member down. I mean, they have all the pressure on 2 members straight ahead of them. Veritas is in the driver's seat here. They should definitely keep their foot on the gas against SDK.
And there we have it, the circle with a very concentrated shift. Most teams already in the north. We still got some water into play. Meanwhile, Keenan going wide, looking for an angle here on Shoot to Kill. So trying to find yet another knock. We see Alo off downhill and into the distance as Luke 12's body is out. So Purdy Curdy sent it already into the zone, try to find a spot for safety. But that unfortunately means that Alo is trapped here with Pinthalel's sharp shot. And the rest of Veritas continuing to watch this as Alo is just going to run. I mean, just full send it away and try and stay alive.
I think he's going to fight this.
Veritas. I would hope so. I mean, Alo, we've seen him pull off 41 miracles before.
He doesn't have a choice. I mean, really, the only benefit here is if they actually leave and just let him, kind of be to his own devices. But look at this. Fabled on the other side have already taken out 2 of 303 here.
We go, and Landoon actually taking quite a bit of damage as well, sending it further away from the compound. As we can see there we go, Greg shots and the rest of Fabled back out. Now, Honey Badger, once again, on the opposite side for this. Honey Badger sent it out just a little bit earlier, trying to scout ahead positioning. Unfortunately, it was out of position to help out the rest of the team. And so back again, though, we did just kind of check in back in with Alo. Is going to be found by Veritas. They're going to get that knock. Shoot to Kill, unfortunately, is down to just 1 player onto this.
Yeah, Alo got a knock. He did what he could. I mean, Purdy leaving was pretty much the indication to Alo, like, hey, you're probably dead, man. Just try to get as many kills as you can or as much damage as possible. And so he got a knock and he went down. And now that's going to be STK now for you know, it's going to be a third game in a row where actually they don't necessarily have the best results, and they're going to go out in 16th.
I mean, really hate to see it, as now they've seen Great out with 7 kills, but a very interesting nade falling just short. I think Honey Badger timed that a little bit better. Could have been with, doesn't matter, finds the headshot there onto Rip. That's 2 knocks down for Fabled. We're going to have to clear out Honey Badger, but still be mindful of Landoon is in the area. They want to try and get these reses. Haxetti just about to bleed to death here. And we see Greg Shot preparing and looking for another angle onto this. Hella, I think, might have spotted Honey Badger, but he is laying low right now. She's got an 8x on the Mini 14. So Fabled was looking very good a moment ago, but now, unfortunately, has lost 2 players. That's Landoon. He's using this as an opportunity to push back to the compound.
Yeah, I like this. I like this from Landoon a lot, actually. Recognizing that the team that almost wiped them actually just lost 2 members. This is exactly what I want to see Landoon do, and he's doing it.
Well, that AKM is out and ready for that close-range combat as Landoon trying to get a little bit closer, picking up some utility. Walking up on the backside of Hella. Meanwhile, Greg Shot's working on those reses, and so that's going to even things out for Landoon. A 1v1 versus Hella if he could spot her into that small compound. But Fabled was able to get those reses, sending it back with the vehicle to try and stay alive onto this, but Landoon is being very quiet not to be spotted out as Honey Badger continuing to offer recovery fire, looking for Hella. She closes the door, but it's not going to be enough. Landoon getting the knock and flushed there with the AKM. And meanwhile, Bolty back out looking for a shot onto Greg Shot. As we see return fire out. Nice nade, getting ready for Rip. I think it's going to land inside the building. Landoon tries to make a run for it, volts out the window. And we'll find some safety here as Honey Badger continuing to offer cover fire. Rip, though, looking for an angle onto this M249.
And this is... I love this aggression here from Landoon. I think it was the right play. The only problem now is that, you know, Honey Badger isn't really in a position to cover him, which is actually why he's driving in. I love this from 303. They're taking the you know... They're making the best out of a bad situation where they lost 2 members right off the bat.
Yeah, and it's now a 2v2 on the edge of zone. Both of these teams need to finish out this fight so they can work their way in. Meanwhile, though, Radiant's starting to extend a little bit. They're looking to see what's going on here. Los HD up ahead of the rest of the crew, and so Rip needs to really finish this up quickly as possible as Greg Shot still inside the warehouse looking for another angle onto 303, but I think this has taken long enough now. Radiance... Yeah. They've peaked interest.
And Los, let me tell you, that man is a shark. He smells blood and water, especially when he hears fights. He immediately recognized that, and now here comes the rest of Radiance. These guys are, I'm sure, going to look for the cleanup, if not maybe even killing all 4 members of the 2 teams still left alive. Meanwhile, Corsac finds himself in pretty much the only safe dip in this field as the rest of Dodge comes in as well. They do have a bus to their... Oh, no, never mind. I thought that was a bus. No, it is a bus. They have a bus of disposal, so it's decent cover. Very tanky, and so where do you go from here now? What's Dodge's next play? Obviously, they're going to be fine in this circle, but rotation is going to be a little tough, especially with Duel sitting right there in that compound.
And I mean, you know, we're only in phase 3, so there's still plenty of opportunities for another hard shift away from this. So Dodge can just use that to hold on to the mid game. It might be good enough, but back at this fight at hand between Fabled and 303, Greg Shot once again pushing back out and around, looking for an angle onto this. Utility is out, but no one from 303 is there to take that. Meanwhile, we can see just off to the right, Radiance has set up a gatekeep for this. Los and McCoy anchored in behind is Gaxi. It's going to send it just a bit further with Waldo trying to get more information onto this fight and maybe spot a kill. Greg Shot's actually quite open to Radiance onto this. The smokes are out. Can't quite see Landoon and Honey Badger.
It's so unfortunate because these 2 teams are going to do such a... They're just going to fight so hard and, you know, use everything just to get those 2 kills, and then their prize is running into a full squad of Radiance. It's just... It's rough, but it's going to happen.
Kudos to Radiance for being patient on this as well, as they've been quiet. Greg Shot, though, will get the knock onto Landoon. Hasn't picked up the flush just yet. There it is. Honey Badger is very low, but hasn't been spotted just yet as Fabled try to pick this back up. We see a little bit more damage onto Honey Badger as he tries to run away to freedom. Spotted by Rip, and if Fabled will win this fight, they now have to turn their attention to get into the zone, and unbeknownst to them, Radiance is here waiting for them.
Their best wrap would be, their best move is to wrap south. They don't really have a lot of time for that, but we'll see what they end up doing. I do hear a vehicle. It looks like, yeah, he's wrapping south. This is pretty much the only play they have to do. Is the only option that they have. Otherwise, they're going to run into a full Radiance. I'm also curious if any of them had kind of kept that in tracker. If any of the players that were dead on their team was like, hey, I heard cars, be careful. Oh, man, Greg shot. I don't think he's going to make it out of there alive.
No, it looks like all of Radiance is actually completely compounding on Greg Shot, who gets knocked and killed by Gaxi and Los HD. Rip has sent as far as he could away to the zone, but now needs to work his way north as the circle is actually centralized onto the crossroads. The dip that we saw Carnage send 2 players. Meanwhile, Liberate sends Ice Tech up ahead, scouting for a safe position as the rest of the team still up to the north. Liberate, another team that's been very, very happy to see. But, oh, looks like Duel spotting him out here. Ice Tech down to 50 HP. Lamplock knocks a couple shots onto here. And this is not a safe place to be with so many squads in the area. Out in utility range. Ice Tech down to 22. We saw some nades come back out. Well, it looks like we'll be able to heal this one off now. The question, of course, now comes if you're Ice Tech, if you've called out to the rest of your teammates, where do you go? As you can see the rest of Liberate starting to close in. Guabi and Adit as they take on fire from Oath. Snakers and Pat Caps are actually going to knock both players down. Pat Caps get taken out by Shrimsy. Look at that.
And this is really rough for Liberate. It's not exactly the best situation for Oath, but they at least are kind of on the edge of this, so they can kind of back off. Liberate, on the other hand, cannot. I mean, Simply Matt just has to get in. He either has to choose between potentially running into Sonics or just, getting shot from a distance.
I think the biggest thing right now that's helping out Simply Mad is that Sonics are a little bit distracted by trying to flush out what's left of Liberate. As he's coming in on foot, nobody's really looking in this direction, so he should be able to get into the edge of zone, not being spotted, as well as Ice Techs. But I say that Mime spots him. He's a little bit of damage coming out there, so Liberate in a tricky situation. That's Simply Mad looking for that close range fight onto this.
That's a little bit of pressure alleviated. It looks like Mime is going to get out wisely, I might add, because you don't want to take a 1v1 unnecessarily on the edge without your team. But he is still holding edge, so we'll see what Simply Matt here does. I think he's just going to kind of relax for a second, and now Mime is in a little bit of trouble. Shots coming out, and Tiggleton's been knocked.
As Sonics, unfortunately, just a little bit split onto this. Now, as you say, Tiggleton knocked, but should be able to hopefully get the res here. Smokes out. Sonics working to keep up and alive onto this and hold their position safely into the zone. They've still got a shack to work with, but looking at the minimap, Veritas starting to work in on the edge as well. And so as Mime is going to go ahead and get into that Murado and rejoin the rest of her team safely, taking a little bit of shots from Oath, nothing quite too serious. Mime... I mean, the rest of these teams, this circle is once again very out in the open. And what we've seen, I think, been the make or break for some of these teams in the mid game is their ability to stay alive and prevent themselves from these pinch situations right now, as we see Sonic starting to take fire from both Oath and Veritas.
Yeah, I gotta say, Sonics has done a great job of the best they can of minimizing the damage by placing their vehicles in certain positions, kind of using what little terrain they have to their advantage. But either way, they're still stuck in a tight spot, especially with the people from Monty just really teeing off on them, as well as it looks like they're about to get crashed by Veritas. Yeah.
Ooh. Shrimsy had just barely pushed himself out. H-Twin was already knocked and flushed by Oath, and Veritas read that as an opportunity to take this push here, seeing that Sonics were down, but Jazz and Keenan are going to get Mime. It looks like they actually get 2 players of Sonics out. Shrimsy and Tiggleton trying to hold on to this as well. Shrimsy falls down as well. Tig, once again, the last player still up, but he's going to get a knock and flush onto Keenan. Nades out, looking for another here, and gets him. Roth actually helping out, taking out Pintalol from range, and Veritas goes out, but unfortunately for the Sonics, they are going to lose 3 here.
And, man, Tig, again, the last member alive, the hero so far of this very short series we've seen, is going to have to make something work. Simply Matt now moving in from the north. That's a big cue to Oath that it's time for them to start to come in and take over, or at least kind of try to clean up the team of Sonic. So
Pat Caps.
Super rough for Tig. I don't know really what he can do here.
I mean, Tig all the way down to 9 HP. We see his vest is completely destroyed, and he's out of smokes. His utility's down to just 2 Molotovs and a nade. So being out in the center of the field is going to make this rotation just a bit difficult. I think you have to remember down in Impala, you've got Zenith who's been taking shots on this, as well as Oath still up to the north. Mystery, speaking of Zenith, is going to spot out Simply Matt, and that is it for Liberate. No, excuse me, Liberate still has Ice Tech up, so they've got 1 left alive. but who doesn't have anyone alive is Fabled. Rip has been found by McCoy, and they're going to be eliminated. Meanwhile, down in the south, Illusion bobbing and weaving, trying to find their way into zone as they're going to thread the needle here between Zenith and Carnage. Man. Can they make it work?
They're making it work now, at least for the meantime. Can they get over this hill? The Flying Marados?
Ooh, Top Dog is so low.
But they
and
really
sending
don't
it
have
right
anywhere
here
to
into
go.
ATC as Aguila's going to get that knock onto Top Dog. It didn't take much, but Adam stopping his vehicle right inside their compounds. Looking for that close range. Nades are out. Is it going to be enough? An exchange right now of utility Molotovs out as well. And Adam's going to get knocked, but once again, Zenith from those compounds in Impala. They can see all from that compound. An Illusion reading the situation at hand, trying to stay alive. It's Icy Flex struggling down to 8 HP.
I gotta say, Zenith had the option. I mean, they were there fairly early. They had the option to kind of move out and go into the center where we see this giant stack of teams, but they wisely chose to stay on the outside and in those buildings where they can pretty much see all of what's going on in the circle. And Radiance is now 3 members knocked. What happened here?
Ooh, and Monty with the Molotov looks for the flush as McCoy and Gaxi both go out. And all that's left is Los HDs we see on the minimap just further out to the west. So Comets will pick up 3 here as the circle gets ready to close. We'll see where it's going to transition. And all of these teams that have been playing the edge so successfully so far, we're going to perhaps have to move once again as we're getting ready to enter into the late game. We could see on the minimap the circle is going to pull further north. So now Comets who've been playing the zone are going to have to move in.
This is such a weird circle. Comets are going to move in. They should be okay, but they are going to have to fight Carnage.
I think Zenith actually sent it out of Impala as we see Tiggleton lighting up in the kill feed. Roth and Mystery go down and out. And Sonics.
Remember, Tig is a solo. Tig is a solo. Oh, and he wipes Zenith!
Beautiful. Zenith eliminated Tiggleton with a nade, takes it out, but immediately Snakers says, you know what? Enough is enough.
Man.
We've let you stay alive just a little bit too long. And Oath is going to win this out. So great play by all of those. But Tiggleton, I mean, right now, our current kill leader, and rightfully so.
Hey, so far, he was my MVP, and so far, he's doing a great job. I also want to give a shout out to Oath. They could have came in earlier and tried to clean all that up. But they had the very intelligent decision of staying on the edge and making sure they gave anyone a hard time coming in. Hardships is now that next team. Yep.
I mean, you've got Balefrost and Rilla with a really nice angle onto this. We'll get the knock onto Lobes. Chuba is very low indeed. And the rest of Hardships now trying to make this up as Oath sending it back in for safety. Meanwhile, Comets eliminate what's left of Radiance. But you can see Pat Caps looking for an angle to help out teammates. So back in the cars trying to send it. J-Sank, the last one still up for Houston here.
Yep. And just like that, the fight is J-Sank. Can you do anything? That's a knock.
I mean, 9 HP, dude. He got a knock on Rilla, but a nice nade! And that is it. Houston Hardships eliminated by Oath. There you go. I mean, Oath, another team that really has been doing so well on Miramar for the group stages right now, sitting on to 8 kills. 20 points their name for the series. And really still continuing to hold strong position here to the north. Meanwhile, back down to the south, Carnage Gaming taking shots here onto Dodge as they try to work their way into the zone. We can see on the minimap, Duel is here as well. It is very, very busy.
Yeah, very busy indeed. And that's just because there's nothing to play in the circle. There's one compound, which Duel is holding, and everything else is open. Now, there are ridges and things that we do see like ATC playing around, but this is a rough circle to play if you're not already established. And these teams coming in, I mean, they're either slaughtering or getting slaughtered.
Another thing, too, I mean, we've got 1 player for Liberate still left alive, 2 players left for ATC. Carnage, a 3-stack. Oath is, I believe, still a 4-stack, and Duel a 4.
So, at least 3, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, sorry, excuse me. Oath is 3. Nope, they are 4. All 4 players for Oath are up, and as you see, it is a crate just to the outside of ATC, but it's a very tricky position for them to go and loot that right now, with Oath still so far out to the north, Carnage out to the east, and once again, the circle's shifting, and it's going to stay on that compound for Duel a little bit longer, but feast or famine, sometimes having the compound through the late game can be a little bit of a curse. They're not able to accomplish as much with it.
Yeah, this is one of those times where I think Duel may have to kind of step out of their comfort zone in that compound, and really start to impose their will on the circle, because they have the position to do it. And I'm afraid if they stay in that compound and they stay too complacent, Oath can push up from the north, take that ridge that you see Ice Tech on, and then just kind of hold out the rest of Duel if the circle shifts away from them.
Well, and I think, too, something to keep in mind is that if this Oath and Carnage fight breaks out, Duel could really walk away without much onto this. Or say that, though, Danny G gets a knock onto Crawfresh, but Carnage will lose Lun here. They did send one up ahead onto ATC, but right now, Aguila is going to get Zragod down, so Carnage now down 2 players. Unfortunate situation. This is... there you go. Oath coming in crash. They're looking for it. So Snaker's at 14 HP, but he's not going to let him stop that as more mollies come out looking for a flush onto this. And Oath trying to clear out both Carnage and ATC, continuing to regain control of the north. And in fact, if they win this fight out, they'll have pretty much majority of the zone here.
I mean, I think at this point, ATC has survived a small ordnance count of what you would use against the small army. I mean, there's so much utility thrown at them, yet they're still alive. They're still surviving somehow. This is why I love watching ATC, man. They are obnoxious to play against because they just do not go down. And Aguila is still up after pretty much the rest of all the utility coming out from Oath. I mean, that's wild. And now this is what I was talking about. Oath slowly starting to push up. Duel still stuck in that compound. They kind of missed their opportunity to move out. We'll see what happens.
And a little bit more utility out towards, it looks like, trying to take shots at Aguila. Will blow up that Murado, and that vehicle explosion was enough. Aguila has been taken out. ATC falls into 5th place, and we've got our top 4 teams as Crawfresh working on that res to Ripper, trying to keep them 2 men up. Meanwhile, Liberate Ice Tech, he's been alive this whole time and has managed to not be seen by anybody up to the north, including Oath. And as the circle takes a shift once again, let's see if he is safe. He is. And Duel finally having to leave their compound, but Ripper and Crawfish will have to move as well. And that's going to take them right into the barrels of Relo and Pat Caps.
Yeah, I think Duel missed their chance. They had the potential to move up and kind of take control of this themselves, but you know, they just kind of stayed put, and because of that, this is where Oath, I think, slowly starts to constrict their hold onto this game.
Ooh, and as you say that, Oath is going to get a knock onto Ripper. Nades are out. All they have left to worry about is Crawfresh, and they can completely rotate around this angle as Ripper is going to get flushed out there by Snakers.
Oh,
now
Flash coming out.
To almost turn their attention, but Crawfresh is going to deny that. Molotov comes out, but it just falls short. Crawfresh actually spotted up by Cherry. Duel finally sending it out of the compound, and the fight that we've been waiting for is here. Danny G, though, down to 9 HP. We see a flash was out by Oath onto this. So 3 very, very close up here for Duel. That's a very bad idea. All it takes is 1 nade, and they could all be gone in the blink of an eye, but Snakers is going to get flushed out by Cherry. As we see them, Wooly start to send it. Has been found out by Balefrost. Falls here. Cherry and Danny G looking for an angle. Meanwhile, Lampalot still behind, anchored onto the compound, trying to call information. Pat Caps is going to fall to Cherry here. And Duel.
And Oath is falling
taking
apart.
This back out. Look. Pat Caps down now as well. This is insane.
I feel like Oath really had the better position here, but Duel has been fighting tooth and nail to move forward, and they're doing a great job of it. Ice Tech is also still a factor in this game. I mean, he hasn't done anything.
Ice Tech is, I think, has the opportunity to surprise whatever's left of one of these 2 teams. Oath down to just 2 players. Duel right now struggling to keep their players up, as we see Relo has been knocked at, unfortunately, Cherry trying to get onto this. So Balefrost, the last player still up for Oath, starting to send it here onto Duel. And he's going to get spotted out. And there you go. Ice Tech now versus what's left of Duel. 2 players still up. Danny's been out. Liberate immediately taking shots onto this. Ice Tech trying to get him out. And we see it's 75 HP. So this is interesting. I think Ice Tech could potentially have the opportunity if he could just get 1 more knock here.
Did he not remember which tree he was behind? I just thought Ice was going to molly that tree. I think he might have got confused. It looks like he's going to find the knock-in flush.
That's the knock-in flush onto Lampalot. I mean, now is the time to push, right? You do have this res coming out onto Danny G, but Cherry is going to finalize that. Ice Tech using this instead as an opportunity to pop off that first aid kit. The AKM ready to go. Needs to push now or never. Phase 9 is here. He's got almost the center of the zone, but it's a 2v1 situation. Meanwhile, Cherry going wide, looking for the angle here onto Ice Tech.
They have to be careful to not give him 2 1v1s, but at the same time, they need to play for trades. So it's tough. I mean, Ice Tech can definitely win this. I think Duel, the way they're playing it now, is correct. Again, playing for trades and not giving him the 1v1. So we'll see. I mean, he's pretty much prone in the open at this point. If they see him, I think it's all over. But if you can get a knock here...
And here it comes, Cherry setting up for this. Shots onto Ice Tech. Ice Tech down to 17 HP, stopping once again to use the first aid, but Duel is not letting go the aggression, looking for the angle. Cherry finds it in the end. Duel with 9 kills, showing us why they deserve to be here as they take victory here in match number 3.
Man, I will be honest, I really thought Oath had that game in the books. I thought their position was better. I thought that you know, they were going to be able to get some really big impact knocks on Duel, but I have to hand it to Duel for a team that I kind of counted out there. They really fought for that, and they earned it. That was a victory that was 100% well earned, and something that I think they needed. So well played to Duel, man. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, Duel started this match with only 4 points near the bottom of the leaderboard. In fact, I believe they were in 15th place on the leaderboard, ending now, of course, up near the top. Cherry with 6 kills, Danny with 2, Lampalot with 1, and really worked together as a cohesive unit through that. I think, as you kind of said, they stayed in that compound just a little bit too long. But in the end, it didn't seem to matter as they're able to get the chicken dinner regardless. But once again, shout out to Liberate. They only put 1 kill on the board, but still managed to hold on to the late game as well. Ice Tech did not get seen, even though he was so close to all of that action. We saw squad wipe after squad wipe continuing on that hill.
Yep, cohesive unit indeed. And because of that, you know, Duel's going to get some much needed points. And Liberate, it's just surviving, dude. Ice Tech just sat there for so long, and he was just in a position where all the teams are fighting around him, but he just didn't. He didn't have to move, and good on him. And again, ATC survived as long as they did. Taggleton, how can you talk about that round without Tig? A nice 1v3 against Zenith. So overall, again, a really exciting game. I think so far we've been treated to 3 great games for the start of this grand finals.
Yeah, now with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and task this back to the host desk and see what they had to say about this match before we go into our last match of the evening. So without further ado, guys, take it away.
Welcome back. Before we talk about the match, I'm going to read some numbers and letters. G8, TS0, FP, NA, 94H. Go to the add bonus gift code section of the Pick'em Challenge in game on the event tab. Codes are very limited, so you guys got to act fast. You can only redeem 1 free voting coupon per PUBG account. So once you're in, you win. Though we are still giving away tons of free stuff for watching, tons of esports points, things like that. All right, big game, a win for Duel, but it falls in line with what we've seen from them. In the group stages, Cherry was the 12th highest fragger, like overall, with 42 kills, I think it was. The rest of his team had around 20, the mid-20s. So Duel, I think, again, we see Cherry playing out of his mind as we go to the highlights. I want you guys to talk a little bit about where do you sort of get the rest? Did the rest of the team step up in this game, or do they still need to be dragged along?
All I was going to say, Matt, just quickly, I think with Duel, we've still got to treat them like the budget happy, right? There's still a choking hazard. I mean, it's just... How many times do we talk about it before we can start singing their praises? Because we haven't seen them hit consistency. It's something we always talk about in PUBG. We see them have, you know, great individual games. You know, occasionally they make it up force to the late game. This was obviously one of the ones where they came out with the win, but... It never looks easy for Duel. It never looks easy. It's always backs against the wall when they come up huge in a certain situation and it gets them the game.
I 100% agree with everything you're saying and what Godspeed was talking about. Whenever we saw the fact that Duel was holding down that complex, they had the high ground. You can see that they were doing so much damage on everybody around them. They had vision control and high ground, but look at Oath constantly on the move in this low ground position. And poor Aguila. ATC Aguila is not a snake anymore. This dude is a turtle. Somehow he can get in there and survive for so long. But Duel stepped out of their zone, stepped out of the safe zone and flanked all the way back around to the south to move into this position. Oath took control of the circle, and I thought it was going to be Oath's game. But just like you're talking about, backs against the wall, they managed to fight their way into it, and Duel managed to win, but not from superior positioning that they had just a few seconds beforehand.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a fantastic attribute for a team to have. If you can come out in the games where, you know, it's all on the line. You've got to fight your way out of a corner, and you come up huge in that situation. There are some teams that can never, ever crack that, and they're the ones that, we talk about winning the games you should win. If Duel are able to kind of turn around the games that you could argue they're not meant to win, that's a fantastic attribute to have, but it's just weird to see them never make it look easy. And this was a roster that, for me, even with Danny G stepping into this, I still feel like the expectation is higher than what they're delivering.
And it also feels like in those situations where they sort of have to make, lemonade out of lemons, so much depends on Cherry still being alive at that stage to make it happen. And that's not what you want, right? I mean, you've been at that level, Hypoc, as we take a look at the match leaderboards. You want to be in a place where you can lose anyone on the team and still potentially take a win, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you take a quick look at it? I mean, there was one thing as well I wanted to mention, which was the absolute clown fiesta in the north side of Circle 4. I think it was Sonics, Veritas, and Fabled. And actually, again, Sonic, I mean, Godspeed even said it. Tiggleton, again, last man standing for Sonics, comes up huge in a 1v3 situation, puts some extra points, I guess, in terms of salvage for Sonics on the board there. That was absolutely huge.
Well, you were talking about Duel having a trouble and never making it look easy. I'm starting to get that same feel with Sonics. They put themselves in some
struggle.
Yeah, they put themselves in some awkward spots. Now, one thing that we didn't get a chance to really talk about a lot is Liberate. Your boy Ice Tech showing up again in a good position. Survives for so long for his team, manages to walk away with a decent positioning coming out of it, and really was a big factor on that push whenever Oath was going towards Duel to really harass the side of Oath and make their whole push fall apart.
I want to be very clear. I take zero credit for Ice Tech's skill as a fragger, or particularly as a player, but I take full credit for his ability to hide throughout the late stages of the match. I think Godspeed made fun of me once for being the snake, and that's how I approach my games. And I distinctly remember complaining about that, about, you guys are too aggressive. We should be sitting here. So maybe that helped a little bit. But it worked out for them. Let's take a look at the top kills. You see Cherry on top, Balefrost, Tig, Greg, Snakers behind that. Snakers has been a little bit quiet so far in the first 3 games, gentlemen. Oath, I think, rode... I've never seen a snake ridden before, but Snakers had a saddle on him after group stages.
He did indeed. And actually, Oath have been quiet, but I think we're going to take a little look at the leaderboard and see them 3rd overall after this. But just looking at the damage now, no surprises here. Balefrost, I think he put up 5 in total, I think, by the end of that one. Oath was super active through the mid-game. I love the 2-2 split to hold on to the edge of the road. I think it was hard shifts that pulled up on them just towards the end of Circle 6, but really, really heads-up positioning from them. And for 2 members of Oath to just take the straight-up 2v4 against hard shifts in terms of holding that position was absolutely fantastic.
Overall leaderboard, go for it, Matcher. I was about to say, I know you got something to say about this one.
Our analysts and our predictions were bad. We're in 15th and 16th, respectively, on the overall. Shoot to kill and Radiance. That is surprising. Veritas in the bottom half of the leaderboard. Hard shifts in the bottom half of the leaderboard. Right now, it's showing up to be a lot of Sonics. Fabled, Oath, and Duel as well.
I mean, to be honest with you, and this is not to be... you could turn this completely around the other way, and it would feel more reflective of group stages. I'm not going to lie.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah?
Like flip it backwards. It's true.
Yep.
I will say this. Godspeed earlier, I thought I heard him say that he picked Sonics. I haven't seen his pick yet, but that's who he was sort of riding for this one. So we're never going to hear the end of that, as they have played incredibly well. I think he said it earlier, so I'll give him the props on that. 13 kills for Tiggleton. Big Tig, he is nuts. And he's living up to the hype.
But
Absolutely.
Greg shot in Hexete, though. Look at that. Fable, 2 members in the top 5 kills overall. Duel with a member on here. Let's be honest, a lot of us were expecting Oath to do well, but this is 2 different teams showing up in the kill counts that I think were surprising a lot of viewers as well as players at this point.
I'm excited, Hypoc, to see Cherry. I'm going to touch it again, because at the end of the last PCS, he seemed very down. I thought we might actually see a retirement potentially coming out of him at that point. And it feels like PCS2 has been a bit of a resurgence for Cherry and given him some confidence back.
It wouldn't be a death segment without you throwing a retirement question my way. But no, it's good to see Cherry still delivering. Obviously, the man's been grinding. It's fantastic to see him obviously come out of Rumblers and step into another roster and continue performing. Again, it's just a consistency thing. And that's the thing that always bugs me with Duel as a team and as individuals. Again, I mean, what can we say here? Tiggleton still pulling away now, the gap at 700 damage ahead of J-Sank, but Balefrost stepping in with that last game to the top 5.
And Honey Badger too, can't forget about him. He is such a component for 303 and consistently inside of the damage category for his teams. He is, I know we talk about MVPs and all that other stuff a lot, but man, Honey Badger is so good and just needs to get more love.
He does, but 303 is one of those rosters again. I think we have 4 players there that at any given time could step up. We've seen. I mean, D-Rich for me is still, in terms of the last 9 months, I think D-Rich is one of the most improved players in NA. And I think he's one of those quiet slayers that he's just always doing work. Every time we do have the honor of the camera gun onto him, he's always coming up clutch in situations. I've seen him in scrims pulling out 1v3s that he has absolutely no business winning. And he's a player that a lot of people sleep on, to be honest with you.
I got to follow that one up, yeah.
Landoon is the second one in that roster that I just think that kid's absolutely cracked.
I remember all the way back in DreamHack Austin is whenever I first met D-Rich. Whenever we were having the big event that was going on, where we had a whole bunch of the pro teams that came down, there was also the open-ended bracket that was going on. And he had showed up, and D-Rich was performing, trying to compete against, well, actually competing and winning occasionally against like Shroud and Doc that were on the same team together at that event. And ever since then, he has just been an absolute grinder, and it's so great to see all of that work pay off for him.
That said, 303 is a team that I expect to do well, and yet they didn't have a chicken dinner in the group stages. Let's see what happens in the grand finals. It's time for our third game of the night. Let's head over to the casters who will give us our just desserts. It's Clover and Godspeed with the call. Take it away.
Thank you so much, guys. And I think this is game 4, right? This is going to match 4.
I'm sorry, I just have to get this off my chest. It had sounded as if I was being accused of picking Sonics just recently because of the good start they've had, but there's a little segment I did called PUBG Notes. I believe that video came out a month and a half ago, where I predicted that Sonics would not only win PCS2 Grand Finals, but Tig would be the MVP. So it's just like, I'm really glad I have those receipts. You know what I mean? Because when I'm accused of this type of defamation, you know, it really just riles me up. Let's not forget I was the first one to predict Oath winning, you know, the charity, which
That's
also
true.
I'll give you credit.
Here's the question, though, is that, I mean, do I pick Oath now? Is this my opportunity to steal your normal pick of Oath, and I'll take Oath, and then?
Well, I don't predict Oath this time. I'm going with the Sanix, so that's who I think is going to win. I think Tig is going to stay the MVP, as I stated about a month ago. So yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. You know, I just feel like keeping receipts is a really important thing to do these days. Clover, and that's all I wanted to say.
I mean, Twitch chat, obviously you guys are following along, and for everybody else following along on all the other platforms today, keep those receipts, take screenshots, let us know in chat who it is that you have picked so far, if you've had a chance to use your pick'ems already. And with that, we are now going into the match. Here's the flight path, another very shallow flight path, Godspeed.
This one, man, if the circle goes north, that would be amazing. Because
that would be hilarious.
Suck for everyone.
It's gonna go cruise.
Position themselves. I mean, we'll see. This flight path is kind of the opposite of last time, where it's cutting off the northwest instead of the southeast or northeast, I should say, actually. But yeah, nothing crazy. Again, the plane paths that we have seen, and overall the circles, I want to say, have not been anything that crazy out of the ordinary. They've been bloodbaths early on, which is great to see. A lot of these teams are, you know, taking the initiative. They're playing aggressive early, and they're trying to, you know, kind of take their foothold wherever their position is on the map. But the circles haven't been weird, you know. It's been a rather innocuous day of PUBG as far as the circles and plane paths go. And here we are ending the 4th game with the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most common and the most, I don't want to say basic, but the least aggressive. It is. Yeah. It is. I mean, it's only phase 1. But typically when we see circles go this direction, the areas that those later mid-games tend to shift towards are areas that are quite predictable. We'll see a lot of teams squat pretty early. That said, with this flight path, most teams really don't need to move from here because of, waiting for that second phase shift. Because if it goes up to the north, it's going to be a little bit different than should it once again swing to the east, or even, heaven forbid, for whatever reason, down towards Leonos, which I don't really expect it to go. I mean, that said, Duel in a very great position for the zone.
Yeah, and as we saw with the last game, obviously Duel came out on top, boosting themselves to the top 4 with a nice little 23 points overall. And even ATC, I mean, again, I feel like, and I really don't mean this as a bad thing, and I hate that I even have to preface it, but ATC are like cockroaches. They're so hard to just kill and wipe out completely because they just... Not only are they obnoxious because they survive so much, but ATC is really good at picking off members of other teams and really kind of taking advantage of other teams or players forgetting that they were there. And that's
well, you know, and I think
kind of one of our strengths.
You know, what you said before, right, is that they don't really have a style. Their ability to adapt in situations is what brings that about, right? And that, I think, makes them so hard to predict. If you're another team and you're up against ATC, your ability to go, oh, well, they're going to do this or they're going to do that. I mean, that doesn't exist with ATC because they approach every problem so differently and differently than they would the day before, the week before, the month before. This is a team that hasn't necessarily evolved and we can say, oh, they've really improved their edge game. Oh, they've really improved this. They change it up so often. And I think that's one of the things that's make them such a resilient team here at PCS.
I mean, I just feel like those 4, you know, they have it's just a very unique and awkward play style that is good for them. You know, it works for them. And that's why I really love watching ATC play because you never know what you're going to get. And they generally make it work. You know, whatever rotation they're doing that may not be, you know, standard or whatever push or split, like they just make it work. And I like watching that team. And they're a hell of a team to deal with. I'll tell you that when it comes to this game. I mean, we've seen it happen. So I just like ATC. And honestly, the only advice I have for them is keep on doing you because it's working.
You know, speaking of what's working, Sonic's Tiggleton, right? I mean, just a beautiful chef's kiss, mwah. So far, what we've seen from them today. Chef's kiss? I mean, I'm not kissing Tiggleton. That's
no, it's the chef's kiss. I'm just saying a little chef's kiss.
Just the chef's kiss. Yeah, just a little chef's kiss. Because, you know, I think that this has been a player that we've been watching with so much excitement for PCS2. And it's been really great to see. I know that when the announcements came out for the way things kind of went down with Sonics and the signing for PCS1, there was a lot of concern for people of Tiggleton. That he was on as kind of a streamer player and not as a comp player. Obviously, with Profi leaving and going on to other games, and that spot opening up in the roster, allowing Tiggleton to come in, has given him that ability to come back. And as we've seen, have really taken off now that the Sonics have had a couple of weeks to form together.
Yeah, I mean, Tig is... Ooh, nice shots coming out from Leda, actually. It looks like Cherry will go down, and that's unfortunate, specifically after that great finish they had in the last game. But just to touch back on Tig, I mean, I was kind of on my way out when he was on his way in, you know what I mean? But I knew very early that kid was nuts. I knew that Tig was going to be insane. And as far as him coming in after, you know, spending a lot of his time streaming, shots coming nope, they're going to be fine. But yeah, him coming back, I knew it would take a little bit of adjustment, but mechanically and honestly mentally, he's so tough and he's so smart when the way that he looks at this game. I knew with time, Sonics would definitely be stronger. And so far they have been. I mean, I think in this Grand Finals, we're seeing life out of them again. We're seeing Tig just be an absolute monster. And yeah, that's what we expected from that roster all along.
Yeah, and I think, you know, another thing, too, we were just watching Zenith, right? A lot of aggression early on. Now, they've, unfortunately, on those first 2 matches, got caught out very early on rotations, unfortunately, as well, falling in some of those crashes to liberate. But then last game, that really great position in Impala, and it worked wonders for them. And they were able to rack up quite a lot of kills, pulling them up down to 12th as opposed to being at the very bottom of the leaderboard. So a small little bit of an improvement for them. But now I think the question kind of comes is, can they keep learning, I guess, from some of those rotations? And unfortunately, now as we kind of see now, Hardshift's losing Lobes there as Wind is actually going to get a nice headshot onto this out here in Picado. Hardshift's, right? Maluk. Another team that's kind of been struggling here on these shifts, and it looks like Maluk reading the situation going, no, we're not quite safe from this angle. Let's adjust just a bit.
We've got to move that bike too, because they already lost the tires, I believe, on the back of that Murado, and they don't want to lose the bike as well. So, Sonic's comfortably looking over to see what's going on with Hardships, and their position is pretty good. I don't think Hardships are going to have to move from here anytime soon. But rotating out of here will be a pain, especially with Sonic's just sitting just above them. And as far as Zenith goes, kind of to your point earlier, that team started off so hot, and we've seen them win game after game, multiple in a row, and now we've kind of seen them on a downswing, and I don't know if it's just kind of the style that Roth has going on over there as far as letting them make their own decisions, or maybe he's trying to rein them in. I'm not sure, but Zenith they're slowly kind of grinding the gears as opposed to coming out of the gates hot.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
we'll see what they do to adapt.
As you say, this is only day number 1 for the Grand Finals. There's still a lot of time for things to change, and I think some of the dust to settle for the Grand Finals kind of to start. The way that we see teams perform in the group stages is vastly different than they'll sometimes perform here in the Grand Finals. And so with that, I think the question, at least I'm kind of curious about after this weekend, is that some of those teams that we had question marks about, or those teams that we were a little unsure of what they could come back a little bit stronger after the break between the group stages, the finals, if they're going to be able to show. Zenith obviously being one of those teams. Now, that said, you've got a couple of other teams like Carnage, who's just been kind of in the middle of the road. They haven't made a lot of noise. We've seen them obviously make it into the late game a couple times to pick up a handful of kills, but they haven't done anything that's been absolutely spectacular quite yet.
I would agree, except for the fact that they wiped Radiance in like 3 seconds. So that was also kind of a trap. Maybe Radiance wasn't paying attention. I'm not sure. I don't know what went on there, but yeah. They are, kind of just picking off a few kills here and there, quietly doing their thing. Obviously, they had the Radiant swipe, but yeah, they haven't done much else besides that, I agree. But even still, they find themselves in 10th place currently, which is not a bad, not the worst position. And they have decent rotations. I think Carnage has kind of always gotten that down, at least as far as their macro. But where they do struggle is, I think, team fights. It gets really messy with them. I mean, they're very much part of their namesake of their team is it's carnage. I mean, they're getting knocked, they're knocking people. It's not a clean team fight, to say the least. So I'm curious if that's just kind of how they like, that style of team fighting, or if it's just something that happens because of communication. I'm not sure, but they're definitely a team that likes carnage.
I mean, as the namesake says, and we are in phase 2. All of the teams were kind of centered in the zone, and the circle once again shifting into that Bendita Impala area. So with that into play, I think sometimes when we see these Bendita areas, there's a lot of opportunities for teams to sit in compounds. Obviously, once again, Duels found themselves in a nice compound, but with zones like this, when you and I kind of said that these are very basic circles, this is what we were talking about. There's a lot of places for teams to sit quietly, comfortably, and even like here with Radiance getting into a little bit of a kerfuffle with Hardships, are going to be able to drive away safely, regroup, and try and stay alive. And that's what we mean by when we say these are basic circles, and that the lack of Hardships, the lack of unplayable areas is going to give a little bit more comfort to these teams in the early game.
Comfort is something that I think is the worst enemy of some of these teams, just being complacent. It's actually a really good point. We kind of saw it a little bit with Duel in the last game, like taking too long to come out because they were, sitting in the compound comfortably. Obviously, they fought their behinds off, to get that win. But yeah, I think some of these teams that are getting too comfortable are just not putting themselves in the best positions to rotate or frag. It hurts them, and we've seen that complacency from multiple teams. In fact, I would say that most of the teams that aren't currently here with us in the Grand Finals.
Mm-hmm. And now, of course, Fabled right now sitting in 2nd place after coming out of the group stages into 16th, as we see them pull back and rotate away from this position that they've been sharing here with Sonics. Haxetti sending it ahead of the crowd. I think just kind of looking for another angle onto this. It's still early in the game. We shouldn't expect to see too many teams try and run away to start, but Sonics really loving this position. Meanwhile, Illusion rotating in from the blues. They've actually rotated all the way around from Al-Zahar. They're going to find themselves up on the edge. This is a team that always plays the edge, and we'll see them try and clear up and get most of their points, and oftentimes are able to snake their way into that later game. And so far, it's worked well for them a couple of times today, getting them up to 5th place. I mean, this is a team that I talked about at the very beginning of the day, saying they're good on Miramar, and they're great on placement on Miramar as well. I mean, this is a map that they're very, very familiar with. But I think for me, the big thing that I want to see out of Illusion is to start upping the kills a little bit. They've got 10 so far, which is not bad by any means after one day. But I think the potential to do quite a bit more, especially with Adam and Free Me Please on this team, there's still room to grow.
Yeah, and I mean, even Icy Flex and Top Dog, like all these guys, we've seen some pretty crazy sequences out of them, and I agree with you 100%. Illusion is a slow burn team, and I think that comes mainly from Adam's kind of really methodical view of how to do things, and that's not a bad thing. But because of that, I agree again with you that they do, even though rack up quite a lot of placement points, they lack the kill points that they would need to kind of push them over towards the top, and I would like to see them get more kills and play a little more aggressive, to your point.
I mean, I think the thing for me that's the most surprising is that after 3 matches, the team with the least amount of kill points is Shoot to Kill, with only 3 kills so far today.
They're having a slow start. Look, I'll be honest, I kind of doubted them last Grand Finals, and I really thought it was actually going to be Veritas that was going to come out on top, but they were able to pull through. And so even though they have had a poor start, I think, to say the least, I think it's a fair assessment. They've had a poor start. As I said earlier in one of the, I think it was the second game you asked me, I'm not really worried about them. I'm not really worried about anyone just yet. Especially not SDK or even Radiance sitting in 16th place right now. So it's been a slow day. It's been a bad day. But they still have this game. You know, it's not over yet. This is the last game of the day. They could still very much pull out a win here and get a lot of kills, and then move into tomorrow on Erangel with a lot more momentum. And that's what I'm hoping at least them and Radiance do. We'll see.
Yeah, and I think, as well, before this match, after the end of match 3, Purdy Curdy tweeted out, no promises, but we might actually play game number 4. So interested to see if Shoot to Kill steps it up just a little bit. But, I mean, speaking of stepping it up, Houston Tarshus and Radiance,
nice
both 2 teams that really need the points. Chubba getting the knock and flush here onto Waldo.
Chubba!
Grenades out towards McCoy. Oh.
These plays are just... Oh, the molly that might knock him.
Molotov landed good. Chubba's going to fall here as we see McCoy will knock out 1 onto this. Meanwhile, Los HD goes down as well. And so while Heartshifts do still have 3 up, J-Sank needing to take a quick breather to heal, might be able to take control if they could just spot out McCoy there in the window. But McCoy doing quite a bit of damage onto Lobes, getting him down to 41 HP. Finds the knock as well, and that's 2 players down for the Heartshifts. Radiance doing their best to hold on to this, but a nade from J-Sank is going to leave McCoy with nowhere else to go but run right into the grips of Heartshifts here, is once again still working on the reses. Oh, it looks like he was spotted out. McCoy, from Wooly. Duel actually got this.
And I have to say, that initial play from Chubba was actually nuts. His awareness and his wherewithal to immediately turn around, know that he was low on ammo, and to throw that nade to buy himself some time, like that would... Chubb has always been very mechanically skilled, and it's just great to see that showcase there. I also have to give it up to McCoy, trying his best, getting a couple knocks, and really kind of trying to hold the zone. He was pretty much the last member there of Radiance as Los was knocked. So another rough game from Radiance, and a great play coming out of Chubba to save Heartshifts there.
I mean, I couldn't agree more with that. And, with that as well in mind, the circle has shifted. Bandita partially N, and there's a lot of open terrain here. So teams like ATC trying to find a safe spot to transition to is... Ooh, Carnage struggling just a bit. There goes some bumper cars there as they're taking on fire from both Dodge and Zenith. We can see there's very few places left to go, and Carnage is going to full send it into ATC's mouth as Melon's going to beat him to the punch, but Norcus already here waiting with the Gila. Shots are out right now. And it's going to be Maji and Ripper, both that get the knock on 2 members of ATC, 2 down to Carnage as well. Crawfish down to 8 HP. Maji's knocked. And unfortunately, Crawfish falls here as ATC cleans up, but Comet's actually stole quite a bit of this.
Zenith, though. Look at Zenith outrunning hell onto ATC.
Oh, this was not a safe spot for all of the teams that opted to go here. ATC down to just Norcus. Meanwhile, as well, it looks like we've got more action coming in as teams looks like SDK and Sonics have actually pushed into one another, and SDK is going to clear out Sonics. You see there on the kill feed inside La Bendita. This is the fight we've been waiting for.
Yeah, and that's 2 members down, I believe, for Sonics. They are going to have 2 still up. But, you know, that's definitely not a bad way to start the game. Get a couple knocks onto the first, the lobby leader, so to speak. But this is kind of a rough position even still for SDK, because they're going to have to come out of this bowl eventually. And there's, as you can see, quite a few teams around the rim. You have Veritas as well as Sonics, the team they just knocked a few members for. You also still have Dodge on the south side and, on the north side, as well as Oath. So this is quite contested territory here.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 5 teams wrapping into this area, as well as Illusion we can see there on the minimap starting to pull in, and Bendita offering quite a bit of cover versus the big open fields that we see just to the bottom part of the screen here. And Oath sending it up, looking for some high ground. Snakers with the Murado we can see. Meanwhile, Rillo and the rest of Oath trying to hold this out. Take this position from Dodge as they continue to damage utility into the smokes that Dodge is using for cover and defense. Meanwhile, now they've allowed Illusion to put down here, and so this is going to be a bit of a tricky situation. Dodge completely pinched, and we can see Veritas sticking their ugly heads out, but Relo says no. Oh, Jazza.
Ugly heads.
Jazza's beautiful.
That's toxic.
That is.
Wow,
I think I've been casting with Poro for too long.
I didn't think you had such a mean streak. Nice shot coming out. Snaker's going to get knocked, and Oath very much so dealing with the problem of Veritas on that hill to the point where they're backing off. And now Pat even going for shots behind him on a separate team. Oath is just shooting at everything that moves.
I mean, this is a great aggression that we've really seen from them, and really catering to the style of play from the entire day here as Snakers unfortunately still continue to bleed out. We see Belfrost rotating, looking for an angle here onto Corsac. If they can take out what's left of Dodge's position, will be good for them to hold on just a little bit longer. They still need to worry about Illusion here at this angle.
I like
we see Rello's got the car out, is just going to full send it, getting a little bit trapped on the motorcycle, unfortunately. And once again, the circle shifts, holding on to this Bandita area. So we will lose most of that open ground out to the southeast. Unfortunately, though, we've already lost a couple teams into this, and that means that Duel as well, who's out the south, is going to have to move.
Yeah, and I gotta say, ATC, Nork is still alive. I mean, for sure, I thought he was going to die with that barrage of grenades, as well as, you know, Zenith potentially pushing over, but he survives, man, somehow. That team, someone always makes it out in the worst situation. They are hard to kill, man.
And I'm loving this, right? Really... really great angles from them, but they do need to pick this up quickly. Victor, unfortunately, stuck in this compound, but you see Fabled still taking shots from this as well.
Oh,
303, unfortunately, is going to lose one. And Victor is found and eliminated.
Yeah,
Excuse me, there you go. Voxic flushed out as well, as looks like Haxetti had the angle here. And now Fabled coming in aggressively to try to clear out what's left of 303, as Greg Shot's already full sent it inside the zone. Try and stay alive. Meanwhile,
Pat.
Oath caught on their rotation.
No.
Illusion.
Oh, and the cover's gone. That was Freelo's cover besides the smoke. So the Michael Bay explosion will actually toss it out of LOS of him. And now, Relo, does he go for the bike? Does he try to go for the flush on the last player, Corsac? Excuse me, not the flush, but the kill. And yeah, that was a rough position Oath was playing for initially, and now here comes Illusion, and this is what they're excellent at. It's recognizing what teams are weak and when to pounce and how to clean up and take over the position, and that's exactly what they're doing here against Dodge and Oath.
I mean, this is really what we talked about wanting to see coming out of Illusion at the start of this game, and already 4 kills up. They've got the pressure coming here onto Dodge. We see just a bit more damage done onto Corsac. Relo as well down for really by himself, and if Illusion can win this fight out, as we continue to say about all these teams, they'll have a really good position for this zone as we're in phase 5, and the edge of Bandita still into play here, but now with Relo still kind of climbing his way back up, you can't discount him at all. We've seen all of these players do quite well for themselves 1v4, as Corsac's actually going to get a knock onto Icy Flex. The blue comes in, there's no hope for revive there. Corsac picks up the flush now as Free Me Please and Top Dog turning your attention once again to Dodge, trying to clear this out, but Veritas Sharp Shot has the ability to come up over the edge here and take out both Relo and Corsac if Veritas would really feel safe enough to venture out. I think the biggest issue for them right now is that shoot to kill is in the bowl. Meanwhile, once again, 303 still battling it out with Fabled on the edge of zone. Honey Badger leading the charge.
Yep, this is great. They've recognized that, you know, Fabled is in a little bit of trouble on the edge there. They have a position that's still in the next circle, and they want to get aggressive on this, and this is what I like to see, but Zenith is shooting Honey Badger in his legs, and I think they got him. Yeah, that's going to be a knock onto him. 6 kills. Are they going to go for the recovery on Honey Badger? It's going to be rough. I don't think that's worth. It's not even going to be possible.
Greg Shot right now wrapping around, looking for another angle onto 303. They can continue this gatekeep now. We see Greg Shot just off to the right, finds Eagle. Dierich actually goes down, and there you have it. Greg Shot with the final kill. 303 eliminated by Fabled in the end, but once again, back inside the center, Veritas continuing this fight with shoot to kill as the circle has pushed away from the bowl, and now you still as well have Illusion off to the distance, so they need to finish this up quickly.
And you have Relo.
As Relo actually did pick over the side and gets Jazza here. Veritas down to just Sharp Shot. As we can see, the panic starting to set in that the ridge is not safe after all.
Well, Relo was on the other side for so long, he realized he couldn't do much from it, so he decided to kind of peek over and see what was happening here. He heard the grenades from shoot to kill, and that was a good play, honestly. I think continuing down the path towards Illusion as well as, you know, Corsac he wasn't really going to net him anything, and this way he at least got a kill, and now he's causing problems for Veritas. So well played by Relo.
Meanwhile, as well, Zenith has had the opportunity to start to push up to the edge of the ridgeline here. Does have the zone and the opportunity as well to stop more players from rotating their way in. I think the biggest issue is Corsac, who's been kind of stuck on the edge through all the sandwiches, though. Roth has spotted him out, but it's going to be Leda that gets the headshot. Corsac goes down. Dodge eliminated into 9th, but now you've still got 2 solos inside the bowl. Relo and Sharp Shot. Sharp Shot down to 9 HP. Yeah. Relo actually is going to get the knock here. Heads for the zone. A shoot to kill might have the angle onto this.
Corsac was a massive thorn in multiple team sides. So the fact that he finally died, I mean, he was doing a lot of work for Dodge while he was still alive. That's going to be Roth finding Relo, so that's going to be Oath going out in 6th. As SDK is looking better than they have so far all day in this game.
You know, I mean, Purdy stuck to his word. They were finally going to show up and play in match number 4 and show up. They haven't deep, but so has Zenith right now.
Yeah.
Sitting on 5 kills, still 4 left up alive. And this time, they're not sitting and squatting in buildings. They're not kind of playing it passively. They're really doing a good job at aggressively taking control along the edge lines. That said, the circle's going to shift one more time here in about 15 seconds. And with all the teams on the edge and what's in the center of the zone being quite open, I think it's really going to be RNG of where the circle shift goes, of who's going to be in favor.
Yeah, to be honest, this one could go either way because everyone's on the edge. So if this centers up, that's actually bad for everyone, to be completely honest. And it kind of goes for a shift towards, looks like Liberate, actually, on their compound.
Yeah,
so this
Liberate's compound is going to be in the zone. A little bit of where Fabled's positioned is as well. And so Shoot to Kill having to come off their high ground as well as Zenith is going to put them in a bit of a tricky situation. I think Zenith's big issue is going to have to deal with Maluk, who's still outside of zone and needs to work his way in as well.
If SCK can actually get, and where Purdy's standing right now, this gigantic ridge, if they can get down into the bowl in front of them underneath the compound of Liberate, I think they're going to be just fine. The issue is that if they don't make it, they then have to potentially contest with Zenith shooting from across. So it's a rough position, but they can definitely manage something as long as they can get into this bowl. Looks like Purdy's actually going to go for the run now, and that's exactly what they're going to do.
I love this push from STK. This is finally the shoot to kill that I think everybody's been expecting so far. And as well, being very careful in that open space. You still have Zenith and the rest of the teams out to the south to worry about as the smoke shield's coming out. But so is the Molotovs. And unfortunately, Kurt's going to take quite a bit of damage from that coming out from Liberates. It will be able to pop off those heals and stay up. So the question I think comes out to, and it's been something that you and I have talked about, I think every late game so far today, is that the team that has that last compound, are they going to leave in time and not get trapped in there and become complacent? Right now, Liberate, though, I think in a very healthy position as well. It looks like Zenith has finally spotted out Maluk.
Yeah, they found Maluk. The problem for Liberate is they can't really go anywhere. Even had they left earlier, they had shoot to kill on the other side of that ridge. And so this is, I think, kind of one of those rare occasions where they kind of should just stay in the compound. You know, they have Fabled behind them to the south. They have SDK in front. They didn't really have anywhere to go. I don't think pushing out would have actually helped them at all. So, you know, Liberate's pretty much doing what they can here.
Yeah, and doing what they can. Guabi actually gets a
even
nice
then,
angle,
Guabi,
gets
yeah.
the knock onto Purdy Curdy,
Pushing
picks
out.
up the flush before anybody else can steal that away, and Shoot to Kill now down to just 3 players. As we see Utility coming out from Alo, looking for a knock, but unfortunately that nade's going to blow short. Meanwhile, 5 seconds until that circle closes, and we'll know exactly how well that compound is going to aid out Liberate. Meanwhile, we can see, look at that great position from Guabi, sends him almost to the center of the zone. But
he's
now
got to be careful
Fable's
for
going to
Fable.
start coming in. Yeah.
Yep, Fable's the big one. And like I said, they didn't really have much to go. And even still, Guabi pushed out to get that initial knock there onto Purdy. So I just love the way Liberate has been playing PUBG for the last couple weeks, man. I mean, in the group stages, they've really stepped it up and shown that they belong here. Not only do they belong here, but they're a contender.
I mean, it's great to see. Fabled right now sitting in very first place with 41 points to their name and 3 players alive. Like 8 kills so far this game. Haxetti, 6 of those. He's been such an amazing addition to this roster.
He's
and
nuts.
once again, we're seeing how well that's benefiting them. That said, with a circle like this, I think the biggest issue for Fabled is Zenith. If they overextend just too far, Kickstart and the rest of the team's going to have an opportunity.
And Leda and
to do something.
Mystery are already moving up.
I love this wrap coming from Zenith. This is a great player if they can get that surprise knock from Gregshot. But it looks like Utility's already out. Gregshot actually spotted as well from Liberate as you see the damage coming out. So no team right now is safe.
Except for Zenith, to be fair, because they have such a wide berth of area to play all this terrain. It is slowly running out, though, but the bowl that's in front of them is extremely good to play out of. It's really going to come down to them fighting, I think, Fabled, because Fabled is going to have to move, and where they decide, I think, is really going to dictate what happens the rest of this game, if they can cause an issue for another team or if they just kind of fizzle out. We'll see.
I mean, this is the end of Phase 8, and as we know, Phase 9 is going to fall itself in the direct center of this circle, which isn't really leading itself to anybody else. But speaking of leading, Simply Matt's going to get a knock onto Uncivil, but Haxetti trades that out, knocking him out. So Fable trying to make what they can of this Guabi, jumping, looking for some more information on Shoot to Kill, wondering if now is the time to push. Nades are out, but nobody there to take that Molotov damage as Liberate trying their best to stay alive in this situation. We'll find a knock onto Alo as well. Adit picks that one up.
This is just so rough for SDK.
Ooh.
To be honest, I think
Oh.
I think Zenith, if they play this correctly, they should be able to clean this circle up fairly well. But Fable is still very much a factor, and now it's just a 2-on-2 for SDK.
Civ picks up Adit, and there you go. Face up Guabi, Civ getting what's left of Liberate, saving STK. They might be able to get this res off on the Alo if they can work quickly. The blue zone's closing in. And it looks like Civ just about done with that res. Meanwhile, Zenith starting to push up from their compound. Roth rotating wide, looking for a bit of an angle onto this. Is Fabled inside their smokes. All it takes is one nade, and that is it for the team. But this late in the game, Zenith has started to use up all of the utility. We see Kickstart has absolutely nothing to his name.
So much damage.
Shots out into the smoke, some spray and pray, trying to make something of it. It looks like he is going to get a flush onto Gregshot, stealing the kill away from Luke 12. A Molotov is out here.
And Kickstart wants the kills.
There you go. Fabled eliminated. And not before... Oh, Hella actually getting that final push onto Haxetti, denying the point. So, Shoot to Kill, though. 2 still standing. Once again, Halo.
Yeah, this is a really, really, really rough spot for the center of the circle to be in because it's on the plateau, and Zenith really has control of this, to be completely honest. I'm not going to count out STK, though. I feel like that would be the most foolish thing I could do, but Zenith should have this wrapped up. We'll see how this plays out. Luke potentially has a really good off angle if he pushes, but again, that's a flat plateau at the top, and Zenith has nothing but time.
Yeah, and as the circle continues to close, now Shoot to Kill finally pushed out from the ridge line. Mystery is actually going to fall to the blue zone. Wasn't watching it. We see Civ take quite a bit of damage himself. Roth actually getting another knock onto this as well. Roth getting a second one. Susie Sybil actually getting Kickstart. Leda getting Alo down. So much damage is coming out left and right. Civ, the last one still up, is very low. And in the end, it is going to be Leda. Zenith Esports with 10 kills takes the chicken dinner in the end. But you know what? Shout out to Shoot to Kill. Because Purdy Curdy kept up to his word. They did wake up and show up to play match number 4, putting down quite a bit of kills to their name as well, picking up what I believe is 9 kills for Shoot to Kill. So, that said, though, Zenith, right? I mean, so much growth from them today.
I mean, at the end, yeah, because they kind of struggled. They were kind of just middling. But I'm not surprised that STK lost that fight because Zenith had pretty much every crate gun to their disposal. They had an AUG. I'm pretty sure that they had a Groza, maybe an OP or an OM was in there somewhere. Like, I don't even know. But I think the armor, the superior position, and the way that Zenith played that was really what gave them that victory. It could have been bad, though, the way Mystery got knocked to that blue. You know, he just went down. That left it up to basically a 3-on-3. But luckily, again, the rest of Zenith had a really good position and beat on that. But SDK woke up, absolutely. They had 2 kills apiece. I think one of the members had 3 at the end. But Zenith, man, they absolutely fragged that game, and they racked up a lot of kills and a first place. That's big for them, considering they were struggling a little bit.
I mean, big for them indeed. This is a team that we've talked about really needed to find their own. Talk as well about Roth and his IGLing and his ability to kind of let them do what they want to do and whether or not it's working. So far, it looks like today they found a bit of cohesion here on Miramar. That said, also, real quick, I want to give credit to Fabled and Liberate. Once again, up through 100%. The late game, Fabled putting down 8 kills. And so this is kind of what we saw from them during PCS1 Grand Finals, though, where they did come out strong on day 1. My big question, of course, is going to see how they do for the rest of the weekend. But that said, you and I are done today. We're going to hand it off to the casters one final time for them to talk about this match. So, guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. Welcome back to the desk. The game 4 is in the books. We're going to hang out for a while. We'll wait for the scoreboards and everything else to pop up. But here's your code, 61YEGVR010E7. For those of you who may not remember, you head over to the add bonus / gift code section of the Pick'em Challenge event tab. Codes are limited. Once you get one in, that is 1 coupon per account. So take a chance, chill, get some EP. But the number is 61YEGVR010E7, blah, blah, blah. You want to go ahead and put that into it as quickly as possible. So those are the numbers. Hopefully you win. If not, you're getting free stuff while you're here. Guys, I've already earned 1,500 EP just hanging out today while we casted. So it's out there and it's going. Link your accounts, Steam, PUBG, Twitch.
Well, I mean, much needed if you're picking up the freebies, considering your predictions. I mean, I don't know what you were thinking today.
Oh, see, Hypoc, you got ahead of me because we always have to deal with this one question that gets thrown our way. So, Toffees, Radiance was your pick for today, and they're not doing very well. So, can you give us a breakdown on what you think that's happening with them?
I thought we were going to get the real McCoy here, but it seems like we're just not.
Nice.
Radiance hasn't shown fully up. They are really, it's before the sunrise. Give them some time. They're going to come through. They warm up on day 1. They're going to be a big deal. But before we see that happen, let's look back at the last match. Guys, do you know what time it is?
Highlights!
Yes! Highlights! Let's go. Pac, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, the story of this game is going to be SDK finally coming alive. I know people have been waiting for several hours through the blah blah to see them come online. And Kurt promised us on Twitter before they were actually going to play game 4. They absolutely delivered through the late game. Placed the second overall, which is a good salvage considering the start of the day. But, I mean, throughout that was a bloodbath at points. I mean, we had teams going all the way through the mid-game. There was this weird dips, again, just this high ground situation of people getting sandwiched in. And Zenith, I mean, Godspeed even said it, just armed to the teeth for the end game.
Well, we saw it kind of go back over towards La Bendita when we look at how the circles were moving. And I'll be real, whenever Shoot to Kill was playing inside the La Bendita crater and we had Veritas that was on the outside, I thought it was going to be trouble. Oath was also trying to play around those positions. You can see losing their car cover, rolling down the hill. But it kept shifting back in and keeping just enough cover in for these teams to reposition and Shoot to Kill to pick up a lot of kills. Big standouts coming out for me, though, were Liberate's positioning moving through this, Zenith being able to really take a hold of a late game. They knew where to position at and move around the smokes. It was extremely efficient the whole time coming out from Zenith.
It was very clean play, but I mean, as Godspeed alluded to, the amount of guns that they, I mean, if there was an example of superior firepower in a late circle, I would say that Zenith lived up to that, right?
but again, Zenith's one of those teams that you don't ever want to let them go. I mean, you got players that they were playing that like a pub game. They were literally running around crate hunting and again pulling them off dead bodies and whatnot as well. But I mean, you put players like Roth, Kickstart with Groza and an AUG in their hands in the late game. It's not pretty for anyone else.
Yeah, let's take a look at the match leaderboards. Keep on with that thought, Match. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. Mainly what I was looking at as well is Hardships Maluk. He managed to survive for so long and by a lot of points for his team. He was soloed out. We saw them get into a fight early, and he was huddled down in what would be a very wide open spot, but still manages to pick up a couple of placement points. You can see they only walk away with 1 kill, but that was a nice salvage coming out from him, I think, to get him those 3 placement points.
Zenith at 20 total points. Shoot to kill right behind them with 15 as they come alive, as we've said so much today. But remember, it's only 4 games in to a 6-day series, so this is a good wake-up before the transition. Fabled, though, Hypoc, again, it's going to be a strong day 1, but, you know, it seems to constantly go that way.
I mean, it's good. We were just talking about this again. I mean, Haxetti, fantastic. Yeah, he's at the top here. Just putting in absolute work. He's somebody that was shaky the first few games we've seen him step into this Fabled roster, and I think he's unrusted, as you correctly said. Now we're seeing him kind of hit his stride now. I hope that that's going to be some kind of consistency Fabled are able to find behind the performance of Haxetti.
Do you guys, Matt, do you remember that scene from Wizard of Oz? I feel like Greg is like Dorothy and has been like oiling the joints, and Haxetti's now in the lumberjack dance phase of the movie where he's sort of teaching us all a lesson. And it's been great to see. It's good to see him back. I mean, how long has it been since we saw him in this level competitive? Almost a year and a half now, Matt?
Boy, I'm so glad you directed how long it's been since once you started going down that other path, I was like, I don't remember anything about that movie. But yeah, it's been a bit. Haxetti, let's be real. He's a name that has been followed for a long time. He's one of the big guys from back in the day. And you can see, pumping out damage, doing so much for his team, but I think it's exactly what you guys talked about. They're finally starting to gel up. And I would love to see Fabled become a new contender for vying for those top spots.
For sure.
I would love to have more strength inside this lobby, so I always love to see whatever Fabled can step up in these ways. Also, Liberate stepping up. Looking at them pumping out that damage.
That's what I'm saying, Hypoc. Liberate. Maybe they are one of the future teams of PUBG.
I mean, and it's not the Iceman stepping up this time round as well. It's Guabi and Simply Matthias stepping up, which is it's fantastic to see everybody kind of put in their input. But total leaderboard here, Fabled actually closing out day 1 in first place with 42 points. Wow. I mean, they didn't get any predictions on the analyst desk, but I mean, maybe we should have seen this coming with the day 1 Fabled we know.
All right, everybody that bet on Shoot to Kill, breathe a sigh of relief.
They're top 8. They're top 8.
They're top 8 now.
We take those. We take
the
those.
The ship is righting. It is no longer capsized in the giant storm that's been going on. It is now righted a little bit and is looking towards the horizon. But it really has been the story of Fabled, Sonics, and Oath today.
Yeah. Absolutely. And honestly, and this is a cautionary tale. Everybody who's watching, if you won the free coupon, maybe don't use it yet. It's not due yet. At the end of the day, I mean, Zenith and Fabled have been at the top of leaderboards at the end of the first weekend before, and tend to end up sort of, as Poro said in his little video, saying, well, we just had a bad day, and then it happens 6 more times. So we'll see. That said, Tiggleton, top killer at 13, but Haxetti at 12. The imports are stepping up, gentlemen.
Yeah, I know. You can be on the Tiggleton bandwagon. I'm going to start getting on this Haxetti bandwagon right now. I'm enjoying it.
All I'm saying is, whilst we've got the opportunity to, we need as much Tigglegasm spams as possible, because it's fantastic to see him finally delivering, as I said earlier. It's been a rough transition into this team, but again, now that I've stopped predicting Sonics, hopefully they'll start doing well.
Yeah, I just need to not ever pick Shoot to Kill ever again. I'm sorry, chat. I won't do it. I'll leave it alone. But good Lord, Tig.
Wow.
Stop it. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. There's almost 500 points on there. Again, I know I'm bad at math, but back behind it, it's so much closer. He is putting out so much work.
I would be reticent not to point out, Matchroom, Hypoc backed Tiggleton at 2,000 damage. You just backed, who did you just back? Why can't I think of it? Haxetti, and he's not on this list at all, my friend.
Sometimes you just take what you get, okay? I'm just going to say it this way.
You put me on the spot earlier for Radiant, so I had to come after you.
My question is, with Tiggleton's putting up 2,000 damage, how come he doesn't have more kills? Huh?
That's fair. That's okay. That's fair. That's fair because Haxetti's taking them. Let's look at the
Touche.
top 5 knocks right now. Tiggleton, 11 downs. Haxetti's got 9. Guabi from Liberate stepping up there as well with 10. But again, I want to say Fabled. Guys, if they continue, but this is always their story, right? If they keep doing this, they could go the distance. And momentum. It's a big deal starting a tournament with momentum, Hypoc.
Well, it is. Getting off to a fantastic start is one thing because you can, and I don't want to say relax, but you can almost play a little more passively. You're not pressured into decisions. You haven't got that leaderboard pressure over you. But we just haven't seen Fable follow up on their day one performances previously, and that's going to be the concern. Obviously, different roster this time around, so I'm hoping they can carry it on. Assists, no real surprises here. I mean, other than really Adam, I'd say, appearing in that one. He's kind of enabling his team, but again, 3 members of Zenith, Snake is in there. No real shockers on this front.
Yeah, everybody's putting in some work together. You gotta love to see that everybody is at least involved in the process with Zenith. So, I kind of going back to what you guys are talking about with some of these teams that we're seeing, such as like Fabled and Liberate. For anybody that knows coding, I feel like it's always an if-then statement whenever we talk about them, and I really want the if-then to carry through. But is it going to continue to happen? Because every single time we start going up on like the Fabled bandwagon, we're like, yes, this is it. We're going to start getting more competition moving through here. These guys have got it together. Something happens. And a lot of time it comes down to the study of movement. And sometimes some of these teams can get kind of predictable. And that's what I'm afraid of happening.
I'm going to come out and say it. There's been 3 members of Fabled we find ourselves talking about quite often. There's one we don't. And Rip... no, I'll be honest. Rip needs to step up if Fabled are going to find any consistency as a team. All 4 members need to be contributing and I'd say performing to the same standard. I don't think that's happening for Fabled right now.
I mean, you're not wrong. At some point, and we kind of do this when he goes down. Is we kind of joke about the name, but at some point it can't be a meme anymore. Rip has to step up. He has to stop dying. He has to make those plays. And it is what it is, and he's got a bunch of days left. There's 5 days of games left, right, guys? So if you are in the position of these teams coming out of day one, we got about a minute or so left here to sort of talk about what we want to see getting ready for 2 and going forward. So let's do some final thoughts. Matchroom, go ahead.
All right. Shoot to kill. You're righted the ship. Stop playing with people's emotions right now, man. Right, keep in mind, the longer you watch, you get EP, so you're going to have your chances of getting more and more skins. But a lot of people are really riding on you. I love the fact that you're making it fun, but please don't make it too much more fun.
So we're alluding to the fact that maybe STK is just giving everybody else a head start. They're just like, well, you can take the first day and we'll see what happens.
They're making it dramatic for everybody, right?
Absolute divas, man. Absolute divas. But no, for me, it's great to see Sonics kind of step up. Again, I've said this a couple of times today. I've been the Sonics fanboy for the longest time now, and it's been a disappointment, but it's good to see them start off the right way around this time in the Grand Finals.
I have to agree with you. It's great to see the Sonics stepping up. I want to see teams like 303 also sort of rise up out of the mid-pack and make some plays. We know they have it in them. And, of course, the hard shifts. I still am cheering for them. I'm a big Maluk leader fan. I want to see them come out and just swing for the fences. That said, guys, day one is over, but it's not the end of play for this week. So let's pull the schedule up so you guys can take a look at all the delicious, scintillating PUBG NA action that will be coming your way over the rest of the month. There we go. We're going to be back again tomorrow at the same bat time in the same bat place, 4 p.m. PST, I believe, or maybe it was PDT. I don't know. I live in the EST. Who cares? That said, be here at 4. We're going to be here at the 3rd and the 4th, as well as the 10th and the 11th. 4 days of play each time. And tomorrow, we do return to Erangel. So if you want to see some action on the island, make sure you're here on time. You get a chance to win stuff. Really, I don't see a downtime. What better way to spend your dinner than with me, Matchroom, and Hypoc? That's all I have to say about that. I spend my dinner with you guys regularly, so I feel like everyone should just be welcome to come along. That said, guys, it has been a wonderful first day of play. We've had wonderful action, and now that it's over, it's time for you guys to get in on that action. Head over to PUBG, launch it. Season 8 is out now. Go after the loot truck, go after the skins, check out the new quests. It's a lot of fun. Hashtag live to survive. Send us your best pictures, how you're enjoying it, and let us know what's going on. Guys, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. I joke about having dinner with us, but it really does mean a lot to me that you do. From myself, from Matchroom, from Hypoc, from Godspeed, Clover, and of course Poro and Cammy will be joining us here tomorrow. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, and until we see you again, play more PUBG.
Love you guys. See you soon.